Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3.
Did I miss you at the show, Scott?
Yeah.
Were you at the Nationals?
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't think I saw you there. Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta wait. Like, for some reason, the audio was cut off here. But let me see if I'll see when I look on the screen when I count my fingers.
Did I miss you at the show, Scott?
Oh, wait a minute. It's coming through now.
Were you at the Nationals?
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now James says I'm deaf. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming through now.
No, okay, now I'm not deaf. Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I think what's happening is that the sound from my speakers is just going through my microphone, and that it can pick up. But you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working. Let's go. Let me check the. Now I hear you. Okay, excellent. We are. This live stream is now fully operational. Behold this fully operational live stream. Okay, whatever.
Christopher says he can hear all of us 5x5.
Good. Yay!
JM says, it's a miracle. I can hear again.
And Ken, if you want to finish your dinner, move the microphone up or mute it, because the last thing we want to hear is pang. Okay? All right, so anyway. So guys, welcome aboard, and we are very, very privileged to have Scott McKillop of Monarch Models. And instead of listening to our usual... First off, real quick, I got one to work. You guys who saw my video last night know that I murdered the first one of these. I was learning to solder, and who says you can't have a burn through with a 30 watt, whatever that thing is, you know, the El Cheapo one you get at the hobby shop, soldering iron. So, okay, guys.
You ought to see that board, unless he hasn't showed it to you. He destroyed it.
It's in the video. Yeah, it's... I'm not watching...
Radio Shack is rolling in its grave.
All right, guys. Scott, first off, Scott and I chatted earlier, and I said I was going to write down a bunch of questions. I wrote down one word, ghost kits, which we'll get to, 2 words. But because I didn't want to forget, because that is cool. But, Scott, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you wound up starting Monarch Models?
Absolutely. Thank you, Max. Thanks for inviting me. And Steve and Ken, thanks for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
He says that now. The evening is young. you might have gathered a bunch of Weisenheimers, so you just gotta throw it right back at us.
Not a problem. So I built Aurora model kits as a kid. My brothers did, all my friends on the street did. It was something we all did. I was born in '66, so I'm just a touch younger than you guys. But so I was at the tail end of Aurora's heyday, as you know. And they went out of business, of course, and I grew up and stopped building and all of that. I got rid of my collection when I was 21. And that was a Canadian collection too, right? So all those sort of rare Canadian monster scenes, gone. When I was in college in the mid-90s, I was at a buddy's house who was a big toy collector, and he had the Toy Shop magazine out there, the printed magazine, and I'd never seen that before, and I was flipping through it, and I saw the prices for vintage Aurora kits, and it was like mind-boggling to me that there was even, one, a market for such a thing, and two, the prices that were being commanded. So I started rebuilding my collection through, Toy Shop magazine, and then when eBay showed up, then I continued on with eBay, and then of course, then Tom Lowe enters the scene with Polar Lights and playing Mantis, and started buying and building all their kits. Then of course we all know that Polar Lights, playing Mantis, sort of stopped doing monster kits. And I thought to myself at the time, having participated in the bulletin board and getting some understanding as to what Tom Lowe went through to start off the model kits, I started emailing Dave Metzner, and Dave Metzner was very, very kind and very, very open to sort of explain to me the mechanics of how this would happen. And I sort of thought to myself, I could probably afford to do one model kit. So on my own, I also went through some of the mechanics, just strictly from the internet at home on my desktop computer, in terms of finding a tooling supplier in China And then, of course, through the bulletin board, finding a sculptor, finding an illustrator, and then designing a project and sending that project to China. And then, of course, you have to learn how to bring it back from China. And then once it's in your garage, then you have to learn how to get it across the border from Canada into the U.S. and then send it to distributors. So,
if I may, what kit was that?
that was Nosferatu. The
Nosferatu.
original long box Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So, and all this was 2007, back in 2007. So, and as I've sort of said to anyone who will listen, I would always recommend that any kind of business venture like this, you take very, very, very tiny baby steps, especially in something that I really have no background training or knowledge of, because I would say that every business, and especially Monarch, is always going to make little mistakes. And the smaller the mistake, the less money it costs, because everything you do costs money, right? So every time you engage in someone, it costs money. So, the smaller the mistake, the less it costs, and the less impactful it's going to have to producing the second kit and the third kit. So at this point now, with the release of Conga, I think things are pretty settled and ironed out. So.
Would you now? Gosh, I have so many questions I want to ask you. I'm trying to prioritize them, but okay. First off, you made I think a 3-in-1 combo set of some of the old creature characters.
You mean Dracula, Jekyll and Hyde?
Yes. And when I did the video before on Polar Lights and Mobius, I put a segment to you, and I wish I had been in contact with you then. It could have been a lot more. In fact, if you want, we'll do an entire video on Monarch models dedicated. I'd actually like to do that.
Sure.
Hold on. Let me write it down. I'm blonde. If I don't, I'll...
He's not going to say no, Max.
Yeah, no.
Good.
By all means.
You might by the end of this video, Ken.
That's true. Once you really
If you're wondering why Ken's camera cut out, it's that every once in a while he goes bad and has to be put down. So anyway, I understood from what I said that was a limited run, and they're actually fairly rare.
Yeah, I only did those 1,000 units only.
And so the ones behind you are from that original 1,000 units.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Glue Troopers, you want to get your hands on something rare. Here's the man. There's the kit. Buy 2. Build 1. Keep 1. And buy 3 just in case.
So, when you started this, Scott, did you have a sort of a progression of kits that you envisioned that you wanted to come out with? Or it was just, let's get the first one up and then we'll figure it out later?
No, yeah, good question, Steve. And it's a bit of both, actually. I mean, I had my own internal, personal wish list, that the things that I really liked. But,
They don't necessarily sell the best.
Well,
We're going to be getting into that later.
yeah. Therein lies another story. And then I'll be honest, I had never even heard. I've never heard of Nosferatu. But Jeff Yeager said Nosferatu, and I thought, okay, well, he knows what he's talking about. Nosferatu, whoever that might be.
Which they just remade that movie recently, I think. Yeah. So maybe that'll boost your sales.
Oh, well, honestly, Nosferatu, if I never sold another Nosferatu, that's fine, because it was the best-selling kit for Monarch. So it did so well that I don't need to sell any more of them.
And when you say it did so well, can you tell us what kind of numbers you're talking about?
5,000 units.
Okay.
That's the max, really, of anything now.
How'd you do with the Fly?
For the Fly, 3,000 tops. It topped out at 3,000 units. That was it. And that was a bit of a struggle, truthfully. So, yeah.
It's a very cool kit.
I mean, I like it a lot. And the development of the Fly is a very long and laborious story with many, many sculptors throwing their hat in the ring. So, but yeah. So I did have a list of things that I wanted to see done, like specifically the moon suit. And then there was a list of things I hadn't really been made aware of, but were very good ideas. And it just, my ignorance in that sort of sphere needed to have other people fill in those little voids. Gorgo, specifically.
What about Gorgo?
Gorgo was a character I hadn't even heard of. but it was put in front of me as being a very good.
I saw it at the theater, and actually, it's one of the kits of yours I want to get. I saw it at the theater, and I saw it at the theater. You have to remember, as most of the people watching this are, what's the word I want to use? Mature enough to remember when movies had a life of several years going through different countries at the theaters. It wasn't like today where it's 3 weeks and on streaming. I saw Gorgo years after it was made in the United States because it was a British movie. To us, it was a new movie. And
very good movie.
It actually is. And what if I may...
And nobody did him.
Well, that's the thing. I was always surprised how overlooked he was.
Nobody ever did Gorgo. Yeah.
It's like... No one ever did a kit model of the greatest sci-fi movie ever, Creature, the Green Slime, which, Steve, what's the name? See what I tell you? See his reaction when I said greatest movie ever, The Green Slime. I told Scott he hasn't seen it. I told him he has to watch it. What's that Italian actress's name that I...
Luciana Paluzzi.
Luciana Paluzzi. Watch it for her alone.
Otherwise known as Fiona Volpe from Thunderball.
Thunderball, that was one. What did I tell you? You see, I know the basics. Steve can flesh out the details. So I do actually the two. Well, actually, I want to get everything you've got. Now that I've seen Conga, I want that one also. So I want, in no particular order, Gorgo, the Moon Suit, and Conga.
All solid choices.
And since you have some of the 3-in-1 suits, and according to my own video, they're rare, I'll probably have to toss 2 of those in, one to build, one to keep. And I'm primarily a model airplane guy, but since I started this channel, I've been building everything. Ken has been resurrected. Done eating. Thank you, Ken, for going off camera to do that.
Make sure you don't burp.
That's my job. So anyway, guys, okay, back on track. We are horrible about tangents here, which is half the charm.
Who's horrible?
We are, as a collective group. I just happen to be the group leader. Says the guy who always wants to talk about trains and sailboats.
We're always the ones who are reeling them back in.
Really? You could call them max anglers because they're constantly reeling me back in.
They don't call it Captain Tangent for nothing.
What's the opposite of OCD when you can't stay focused? Scott, when you did your first kit, how long was it before you got around to doing a second kit?
In terms of cosmic timeline, not long. I would say, so Nosferatu was 2007, and then that was followed by the Ghost, and I want to say the Ghost was 2009.
Is that the Ghost of Castle Mare?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The part of that was because, sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
Like I said, I had enough. I was willing to put up enough to fund one kit, but that kit had to then generate the funds and sales to then supply the second follow-up kit in terms of the tooling costs, right?
Okay.
The mold, of course, is the most significant expense. So that's why it took, you need about 12 months of sales to then build that up.
Oh,
So when you decide that it's time for a new kit,
yes,
and you have all the sculpting done and you have all of the preliminary work done, from the time you contact the factory to say, cut the mold,
yeah,
to you receiving the kits, what's about 12 months?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, there are certain little hiccups that occur, but yeah, so the first thing they'll want is a down payment on the mold.
They want half the mold up front.
Yeah, so yeah. It's if you work out a good relationship with them, it can be as little as 10%. And, but generally they want 50% to start working. And then once they complete the first test shot of that mold, then you pay the balance on the mold, the other 50%. So then they do the test shot, and then we have to make little adjustments based on how the test shot goes together. And then if everything looks well, then they're ready to go. And then production takes another, say, 4 to 6 weeks thereabouts. And then ocean freight is a good solid month and a half at best. Land freight, and then it's in my door. So yeah, about 12 months to settle all that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to ask you a question. Then this is more business oriented. The rights to these things. Are these in the public domain, or did you have to get the rights? What?
I was just going to step out of camera for the next hour and a half. Well, let's see. The first thing you want to do is you want to look after or go for things that are in the public domain.
Correct.
Not just do the ghost. Oddly enough, Gorgo, the copyright for Gorgo is held by an old man in Los Angeles, and yeah, you wouldn't think that, but so what I did is, you have to hire the right people, and so I hired a licensing agency in New York City, and I said I want to do Gorgo, and the licensing agency said, well, we'll track down the person who has the copyright for this, and that's what they do.
Ken is dying to ask something.
Yeah, there are some people saying that they having a hard time understanding it. So can you talk louder to the mic or get closer to it or something like that?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll speak up louder. How about that?
Okay.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Maybe I can boost the volume from here a little bit. Okay, it's up against the wall. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
How easy was it for you to get the fly?
Yeah, there's a story there.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, the fly. So there's no firm agreement on the fly. It's just a kit that's out there, and if it's a kit that if someone insists be stopped and be, cease and desist, that will happen. But
I work with Atlantis. We have similar situations.
yeah.
Do you want to tell him the? Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Someone I know in California had mentioned to me that certain people were aware that the fly existed, but they weren't really too worried about knocking on my door.
At 3,000 kits, they realized the money wasn't worth their time to fly a lawyer out.
And that's kind of what I'm going with as well.
Which is a good thing about being under the radar.
Yes.
That you can kind of maneuver between the spaces.
Yes. Yeah. And let's be honest. I have seen, in my own interest in collecting certain toys, that as soon as you find out that a toy has been discontinued due to whatever reason, what happens to the value of that toy that's out there in existence? Right? Exactly. So if a studio were to say to me, stop that right now, of course I would comply. I would absolutely comply. But for the kits that are out there in the retail environment at this moment, well, so is that necessarily a bad thing for business? It's hard to say. When you deal in a collectible.
Right.
So.
I'll tell you a funny story about the fly.
Hang tight real quick.
I was at...
Just like, Sangwar, you said, but Max is always too loud. Max is always too loud. It's what I do. I'm backing away from the microphone and putting it close to the speaker. So go ahead, Steve.
So I was at a show or theater. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like a show that we have here, and it's in the New York metro area, and they have stars from different movies, horror movies, TV shows, sci-fi things.
It's like a miniature Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Comic-Con, and then they have vendors who sell stuff. So I was there, and David Hedison was there.
Oh,
and
nice.
He was there, and Brett Halsey was there. And they had the machines from the lab behind them. So I was talking to him, and I said to him, I said, I really enjoyed the movie, seeing it, when I was a young boy growing up. I said, but, that scene when your wife rips the cloth off your head and you see the fly head. I said, that scared me so bad, I jumped up out of my seat and ran into the lobby of the movie theater. So he says to me, that scared you? I said, dude, I was 6.
Age is everything. Like I told you, Scott, when you're 8, The Green Slime is the greatest movie ever. When you're 38, it's laughable. So, Scott, it's funny you should mention the thing about the rights and stuff, because Steve we talked about a whole bunch of stories about that. So you want to tell them about the Lockheed guys?
Well, in 2000 at Toy Fair, I work with Atlantis, so I was in their booth at Toy Fair, and the guys from Boeing came in because we had probably 15 aircraft that were either Boeing aircraft or companies that they had acquired over the years. And they said, you don't have a license for these. And we said, well, we didn't know that we needed to have a license for these. And they said, oh, yeah, you have to have a license. So they came back the next day. And we had to give them an inventory of everything we had sold out the door and pay them a percentage, which was the licensing fee, and they gave us a license to move forward. So that's the worst that could happen to you.
Right.
Because they're not going to shut you down. They're not going to sue you. They're not going to, legally try to cripple you. They're going to say, okay, pay us for what you sold. And then you have to pay a license for what you sell from now on. And it's usually what we do is we make sure that if we can get the license, we get the license. If we can't get the license, we build in the licensing cost into the cost of the kit.
Mm.
So if we get caught later on, okay, we've already generated the revenue to pay the quote unquote fine.
Sure.
So
I
that might be
had
something you want to think about going forward, if you're concerned about it.
to do my history video on one of the companies that's still making models today. I had a phone interview with the guy who started. He's like you, Scott. He's not exactly a one-man show, but fairly close to it. He told me he got a C&D from was it MPC? Because he made a Millennium Falcon in 1:1, I think it was 1:144 scale, and a major kit model company was about to put that out. And he does mostly resin stuff, so 50 pulls per mold. He wasn't, like you say, under the radar. He was under the radar, but he'd sold the Millennium Falcon for years without a problem. But when he happened to hit the same scale that a major model styrene company was making, they called him, gave him a C&D, so he took it out. But like he said, you make your money while you can, and then that's it. Regrettably, I think that the licensing stuff tends to price out a lot of potentially really good kits that might sell. But that's just my opinion. You know more about that than I would. But let me ask you, and remember, first off, none of this is admissible in court, except they'll show the video. And secondly, if we ask a sensitive question, just smile and nod and go, that's a trade secret, which is a nice way of shut up, Max. Go to the next question. The conga.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen part of the movie. I haven't seen the whole thing through. Apparently, it's better than I gave it credit for. It's not a King Kong ripoff. So, but it's actually a more in-depth story, one might say. But that was a British-made film, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
61.
I just watched a video about it today.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
I have to go watch the whole movie now.
Very good movie.
Yeah, it is.
Well, my question for you is, actually, it's a two-part question. One, is that something you had to seek rights for? And secondly, why did you pick that as something to do?
Yeah, good question for both. For the rights part of it, no, it's just out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 1961
Bonus.
film.
To paraphrase Mr. Sulu, oh my.
Yeah. And in terms of why Conga, well, I mean, it's a good movie for one, and then it had been suggested to me that in terms of kit ideas, that people like big apes. People
They
like
do,
big
absolutely. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Any a King Kong or a King Kong knockoff, it's just like Godzilla. Okay, what's the time? It took me 25 minutes to mention Godzilla. There's like a running gag. How long before I mention Godzilla on a live stream? Could I proffer a thought? And this is just something that occurred to me. Dinosaurs used to be very popular subject matter. and I understand we talked about this earlier, and I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that. Apparently not so much anymore. I mean, I get a lot of people here on this channel tell me they love them, but we're kind of a niche. If you wanted to do something out of the Toho franchise, like a Godzilla or one of the monsters they're in, Steve, you have any idea what a Toho license for that would cost?
It's gotta be about 5 or 10,000 up front, 5% of the sales.
That's not really,
higher.
huh?
I go higher.
I would be surprised if you got away with that. I was thinking 50,000.
Well, no, we had one when we had the Godzilla, remember?
Yeah, but that went back a while before it was popular again.
But
Well, all I'm getting at is, and I it's probably beyond all our reach. I went and saw Godzilla -1. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, it's great.
It is arguably, and you're talking to someone who is a huge fan of the original movie, and I've always said it's my favorite Godzilla movie because it was the original, and it kind of still is. But Godzilla -1, and I'm going to be real quick because I know the Glue Troopers, that's what we call ourselves, by the way, Glue Troopers, are probably tired of hearing me rant about this. It is the best or second best Godzilla movie made, because if you remove the Godzilla parts, you have a good post-war Japan story. I mean, a good human interest story. And if you cut out the human interest part and just go with Godzilla, it's just awesome on so many levels. So I don't suppose no one's making a kit of it. There's some resin stuff out there. And some pre-made stuff, but there are actually no kits. I'm gathering that might be a little bit beyond the reach of Monarch models.
Most likely, yeah. I would tip my hat to the larger people in this. Atlantis being one for sure.
I don't think they could. I don't think they could do it. I think it would have to be Revell or Bondi. Yeah. Because I mean that would be a million kit seller even today. But well, anyway, it was just a passing thought.
Hey, Max.
Yeah.
Paul Adams asks an interesting question. He said, when you do a scene such as Conga, how and why do you pick that scene, such as Conga breaking out of the house?
By the way, Steve, real quick, Paul is a huge help to this channel. He's down in New Zealand, and he has been, and I'm working on some projects with him now. He is a great historian on models stuff, just FYI. I'm sorry, now I totally forgot what he asked.
He asked, why do you pick a certain scene when you're making the kit?
I watched the movie and I sort of dissected the movie, and of course, you want the big monkey, you want the big gorilla, and you want the fun of that translated into a model kit. So I thought, well, I mean, when he grows to his giant size, clearly that's the part you want to get, and you want the background kind of Aurora look to the base, because I'm all about the Aurora type base. So the idea was when he bursts through that house, essentially destroying the house, that's the rest of the movie. It's him sort of charging downtown in London and creating havoc, but he's not really wrecking anything. He's just kind of swatting at bullets and all that. But when he bursts through that house, there's quite a bit of destruction, and I thought that would translate into a fun model kit with the destroyed house, with the victim on the ground, the dirty doctor in his hand, and the other people on the base. So I was just kind of thinking, how do I make this fun? What is the most fun scene of the movie that I can translate into a model?
I completely agree with that.
And it's a diorama piece.
Yes.
It's a beautiful diorama piece, yeah.
But it's also, I think, the seminal event in the movie.
Absolutely.
And I think you're absolutely right. I had a feeling you were going to say basically what you said. Okay, I want to throw one at you completely out of left field. One of my other favorite movies, made the same year as Godzilla, War of the Worlds, Gene Barry, Ann Robinson. And I already have a photograph in my mind of if I was going to make a diorama scene, it would make that. Now, Pegasus kind of already did, but if you're familiar with the movie,
yeah.
What if you were going to make the alien spaceships, what scene do you think you would pick?
Well, I mean, I guess the honest truth is I haven't seen the movie in probably over 20 years, so I'm not that hyper familiar with most of it. But you know, as you said, Pegasus has done that. I think other companies have also done variations of the War of the Worlds. So, you know, I've always tried to pick a subject matter that's unique, that has not been done before in plastic by anybody else. I don't want it to just be just another version,
right?
Another plastic. Yeah. So, Monarchs try to always pick brand new subject matter that never saw the light of day of styrene. So, even if there was a perfect scene from War of the Worlds, I probably would pass over it.
Okay. Pegasus did the one where it's melting the Sherman tanks where they first came out and the Marines are fighting them. Personally, myself, I would do where they first come out of the trench. Okay? To me, where what was the reveal. And which is before that of the scene. But that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's play a little game here, just a mind exercise. I'm going to pick a movie that you haven't made a model of that you're familiar with, and let you think for a second what scene you think you might create. First off, I have to know what movies you've seen. What's a movie you haven't made a monster from that you would like to, and what scene would you pick?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is the sort of the conversation that's happening actually right now. Is my preferred pick to go forward following Conga is the War of the Colossal Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Good pick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like the gargantuas, and I like the puny people running around. So it would be, now when you think of the Aurora kits, right? The Aurora kits were a figure and a base that sort of gave the environment, but they weren't necessarily extracted from a cell.
Yeah, they weren't scene specific. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I would use that as a bit of an artistic license to make any kind of blend. Like, so there's two thoughts I had. One, the part in the desert where he's got the bread truck, something along a desert scene, that could be somewhat fun. Perhaps more fun is when he's in Los Angeles at the airport. Yeah, so something in Los Angeles at the airport with the, I don't know the name of that structure at the LAX.
We call it the Spider. We just call it the Spider.
Yeah, that would be in the background, I'm sure. And then maybe a crushed plane.
That would be perfect. I was thinking that, yeah. It helps to have a landmark.
Yeah, precisely. And it's been one that popular. And then, of course, the puny people running in terror.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever watched any of the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns?
A long time ago, yes.
I was just thinking that would make it interesting. I mean, probably getting the rights would be phenomenally expensive. But I was thinking like something like Clint Eastwood from The Good and Bad and the Ugly or something like that. You know, they call him the Man with No Name. I thought that would make it interesting. There are people who do resin kits of it, one-offs, but...
I would sell 100 of those.
Well, what if...
Paul Adams has a great suggestion. Pack of the 50-foot woman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I haven't seen the movie, though. I have to see the movie first.
Let me ask you a thought. Since Paul brought that up, just put you on the hot seat here. A couple of the scenes I think that are really in that movie stand out, of course, is one is when she picks up her husband who's cheating on her, and reaches and grabs him. But then she would have to be leaned over, and I don't think that would be exactly the... So I'm thinking it'd have to be one where she's standing up with him or something like that. Would you say that an erect pose would be better than like leaning over doing something where they're...
Yeah, so like Save for the Fly. Fly's a good example. Conga, you always have to think you're the model builder and this kit's on your shelf. So when it's on your shelf, how does it look to you when you're looking at it? So, when we did the Fly, we would move each arm individually because it was all done through ZBrush, digital sculpting. So we would move each arm and every limb was moved until it sort of was zeroed in on the imaginary eye of the builder, right? So the shape, the tilt of the head, right, where everything was looking was all based on you, the builder, admiring your model kit on the shelf.
So nothing was random.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. No. Every little part of the posture was calculated to appeal to when you're admiring your finished work on the shelf. So, and every limb has to be doing something somewhat dynamic to make the whole presentation, theatrical. So for, a 50-foot woman model kit, again, each leg would have to be doing something. Like one foot would be crushing a car, or one foot would be up on like a broken building, and then the other hand, like you said, would be holding the victim. The other hand would be doing something, like fingers outstretched, kind of dramatic like that, just so that the whole thing on your shelf is interesting to look at.
See, if I was going to do the 50-foot woman, I'd do her breaking through the roof of her house when she wakes up and she realizes she's a giant.
Yeah,
Because if you
Sort of the reveal.
you'd understand that better. You'd have to see the movie.
So
Then you have a diorama to go with it.
Yeah. And you're right, the base has to be interesting.
Robert Austin asks a question. He says, since the moon suit was contracted for NASA, was there any licensing issues involved?
I bet I can answer that because it's public domain by the fact that it's paid for by the taxpayers.
Yeah, again, another one of these things where I thought, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it. The moon suit itself was developed by Alan Hazard when he worked for JPL, and so if anyone would have a claim, it would be JPL, I think. I don't know if NASA really, as far as I know, NASA really never.
They're not allowed to have patents or anything.
Well,
it's tax dollars. It's automatically public domain.
And as far as I can see, because a lot of research went into that kit in terms.
Tell us about that kit.
Well, it was a kit that was special to, or an idea that was special to me based on the old Time Life science series books, Man in Space. Remember the Man in Space?
Oh, love that.
I think there's 12 books in that series
Mm-hmm.
of the cell and the body and Man in Space, time, all that. So in that Man in Space book, there was an image of the moon suit, and of course we had those books when I was a kid, and I was fascinated by that, and it never left me. And so again, when I was developing my wish list for Monarch, that was high up on the list.
Did you have Matt Mason when you were a kid?
No,
I did.
Because he had.
The Major Matt Mason suits were also based on real NASA plans.
Yeah, because they had the same moon suit, but for Major Matt Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, they had the beer can suit for Major Matt Mason.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the lawsuits over Major Matt Mason?
No.
Let me ask
Okay.
you a question, Scott. How do you decide the scale of the kit?
Oh, yeah, no, and that's an excellent question because that's one of my biggest beefs with other companies' figure kits. Aurora, as you know, was very skilled at changing the scale based on, again, how the kit looks on your shelf. It's based on how it looks on your shelf.
And the size of the box.
That's a box scale.
Yeah. So
That was a big thing with them. If it didn't fit in the box,
Well, yeah. I mean, when Polar Lights did that 1/8 scale sort of reproduction of the comic scenes Spider-Man and the comic scenes Hulk,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge behemoth of a kit. I mean, I did not enjoy it whatsoever, but I had the original Aurora one, so I'm a big fan of 1/10 scale. And so I'll look at the kit in general terms and think, okay, well, I've got to shrink it down so that it sits on the shelf. And then it blends in nicely with all the previous Monarch kits. Like, if you line them all up on the shelf, they're pretty much all exact same height. Shelf height.
Is that about 10 inches?
9.
9.
Yeah. So, you look at the kit, you look at the environment you're going to put him in, and then you make an appropriate decision to shrink the whole thing so that it makes sense. Because otherwise, it's just, I think it's
out of control.
It's out of control. It doesn't present well. Yeah.
So walk us through the process of, okay, you've picked a kit, whichever one you want. And now I know in the case of the moon suit, there's probably actually engineering drawings because that was a real thing. But let's pick something like Gorgo. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Gorgo. I'm going to make him 9 inches tall. Just walk us through the process from conception to getting the pattern cut, the mold cut, the thing produced, all the way to store shelves.
All right. So we'll use Gorgo, but I'm going to update.
If you have a better one, that's fine.
Well, no, I can talk about Gorgo, but let's update it to how things would be done now with digital sculpting.
Okay.
So, all right, but because apart from the digital sculpting, everything else stays the same. So you decide, okay, this is the subject matter, and then you have to determine what the base should look like. So the base should be. So the first thing I'll do is I'll take like a piece of styrofoam, and I'll cut out a base out of paper or styrofoam. I'll cut out the base and I'll shape it roughly, draw it out and cut the thing. Make sure that it fits in the box, right? And it's usually 4x6. It's based on a 4x6 base. And then I'll create like a little paper model, or if I can find a model kit that's similar, I'll cut it all up and I'll sort of create like just a little prototype out of either paper, plastic, whatever I got on hand that looks similar. And then of course it goes to the artist. And they are going to, in the case of 3D digital sculpting, they're going to make through ZBrush the prototype with the base. When we all agree that the prototype looks perfect, right? Each limb's doing something, the bases make sense. That is, of course, a stereolithography file, STL file. That then goes to China. They take that. They'll print out what they call a red wax. They'll do a red wax mold of the STL file, and then when we agree that that looks good, they'll part it out, right? Whatever they do in China, they'll part the head into back half, front half. Arm goes to outer half, inner half, left hand, right hand. If there's a thumb piece, so the people in China will do that part of taking the STL file and then creating all the sub-assembly pieces. And then of course the core and the guide pins. And then when we all agree that that looks perfect, then the mold is cut. And then of course from there we get the test shot, and then I'll receive the test shot that they send to me. I assemble it, make sure it's okay. Sometimes there's issues, and they'll correct all those in China. And then when everyone's happy, we're ready to go. And then the box has got to be made. The instruction sheet has to be made. So those are usually done locally, if possible.
Do you have a particular artist you like?
Well, I mean, Michael Berglund's been doing the art for the last several kits, for Conga, for the Moon Suit, and for the Fly. Michael did those. Gary Makatura did the box art for Nosferatu, for the Jekyll and Hyde kit. For the Ghost and I think that's it. And then John Graziano did the artwork for Gorgo, and Jeff Klauba also did the artwork for Gorgo. So it's fun to let another artist have a crack at it and see sort of how they do the work, just because they're all so talented. And then, sorry, go.
Do you do the pack out in Canada, or do you have it all done in China?
Right. Excellent question, and I'll tell you, there's a good answer to that. So Gorgo is a bit of a nightmare because the number of molds, it was a lot of molds. And so what they would do in China is they would degate the parts and then put them in the box and then ship it over as finished goods. The problem is, particularly with Gorgo, particularly with the green Gorgo, that with the Doug Klauba illustration on the box, they were degating things in what looked like a messy pile and just picking parts randomly out. So people would get 2 left legs, 2 right legs, 3 right arms, right? It was nuts. So I learned
I think in Aurora they called that Friday afternoon.
Yeah. So I learned a hard lesson with that one. So with the Fly, with the Moon Suit, with Conga, I said, no, there cannot be any degating of the parts. It's got to pop out of the mold. You cut the center sprue off, right, the conical center sprue. That whole parts tree gets polybagged, put in the box. So now what we've been doing since the Fly, is each kit has a standard size box, the 10 by 10 by 4. Each mold has to be based on the part tree coming out of the mold, cut the center sprue off, polybag, drop it in the box. Nothing is degated. No degating whatsoever.
Now, can you explain degating? Can you explain what degating is?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Degating is, so just in terms of the engineering and molding, right? You have the center sprue, which leads out to the runners. The runners lead out to gates. The gates are the tiny little connection between the actual cavity of your part and the runner of the parts tree.
So they were actually snipping the parts off and putting just the parts in the box.
Exactly.
No runner trees. Okay.
That's right. Degating is removing the part from the runner tree. There are some molds that have automatic degating, like the Nosferatu suit jacket and the base are what are called submarine gates, and those submarine gates are automatically degated when the mold pops out of the steel cavity. But anytime you degate something, you introduce human error.
Of course.
So we got rid of all degating issues to eliminate human error and missing parts.
Yes. And I know that Airfix, on one of the little documentaries they do online, they show that they take the part, they take the entire runner tree, the sprue's already been clipped off. And for those who don't know, we always call them sprues, but the parts are actually on a runner tree. The sprue is the big piece that goes down and feeds into the machine. It makes it's like a carrot. But they actually take it and they hold it against a pattern on the table that has all the parts laid out. So they make sure all parts are there, and then it goes right into the plastic, into the box. It's a quality control exercise. Which brings to another question. Have you had any issues with quality control? Well, you just talked about one, but...
Well, Gorgo was the big one. Gorgo was the major learning factor there. And so to Steve's question, so now what happens is all the plastic gets shipped to me in cartons. Just a carton of mold number 1, a carton of mold number 2, a carton of mold number 3, so on and so forth. I'll open up each carton. I'll get the box, the product box, and that's me. Every time you get a Monarch kit now, that's me putting the parts into the box, closing it, sealing it as finished goods.
Well, you did like the personal touch.
I am the quality control, because every time I pull the poly bag out of the carton, I'm holding it up to the light, making sure that everything's there, put it in the box.
That's a fun Friday night.
Yeah.
I got the hockey game going in the background. Good.
You ever thought of having this stuff made in the States? After the mold's made?
Yes.
Get around those nasty tariffs.
I can help you there.
Yeah, it's and Peter and I have talked about that. You're right.
Yeah.
So Peter and I have had that conversation. I guess it's difficult for me being in Canada, because it would just remove me one step further from sort of oversight. And if I was producing 10,000, it would make more sense. If I'm producing under 3,000, you see how fast I am now. I'm just like.
So, when you made Gorgo,
yes,
how successful was that in terms of your expectations?
Oh, Gorgo did well. Did well. Not Nosferatu's number 1 in sales. Gorgo did very well.
So is Gorgo the kit baby Gorgo, or is it Mother Gorgo?
That's Mother Gorgo, isn't it?
It's Mother Gorgo. Yeah, it's Mother Gorgo. Yeah.
Did you ever think of doing baby Gorgo with a diorama that would fit as a follow-up?
Not really, because again, I want to sort of keep pushing to new ideas, and the aftermarket resin kit guys, I think that's perfect material for them to do add-on kits in resin, and I don't want to take that away from them either.
That brings up a question. You said Gorgo did well, and I noticed it was one of them you also did in Glow in the Dark.
I've tried to do most things in Glow in the Dark. Yeah.
How has that worked out?
I would say that Glow in the Dark is dead. I will not touch Glow in the Dark. I love Glow in the Dark, but as a something that can be sold to people, there's simply not enough interest. It's not worth it.
Well, I will share with you a very quick anecdote that these glue troopers have heard many times. When I was but a tyke, stayed at my best buddy Jim's house, and he was a Aurora monster. He had everything across his top shelf. I, on the other hand, was that kid who put covers over his head or closed his eyes in horror movies, right? And we're in his bedroom, and I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm looking at these glow-in-the-dark monsters across the top of the shelf. I'm not getting one.
I love them.
But I got enough nightmare fuel just watching Godzilla come down the street at me on an 18-inch black and white Zenith. But I always was a wuss.
Our field brings up an interesting point.
What?
Said Mama Gorgo and Baby Gorgo with the pit stomp scene would be excellent.
Well, like you say, a resin builder, you build your own base for it. Wouldn't actually be all that hard, and get that's something you can do with the existing Gorgo kit. But so speaking of kits and sales, from best to worst, how would you rate them?
Well, this is the almost the heartbreaking part. Nosferatu for sure, number one without a doubt. It continues to sell. Like the anniversary edition is still, selling. And everyone loves Nosferatu. The moon suit. I mean, the moon suit is my favorite kit. I think it's our best engineered kit. It's a great kit mechanically speaking, from an assembly perspective, from an accuracy perspective, from a real historic space history, like people who are into space, like NASA space history. It's accurate. But people, I guess, want monsters. When they think of Monarch, they must want monsters, because for a sci-fi kit, I thought, it's somewhat sci-fi as well, but and Major Matt Mason, as he said, but from a sales perspective, the moon suit is really struggling, and frankly, I'm actually shocked by that.
Because it's a really good kit.
It's my favorite kit.
Steve, I think Steve already has one. I'm going to get one, but I think Steve
No, I
already
don't
has
have one yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get one.
By the way, before we don't forget, can people order from you directly, or do they have to go through one of the retailers?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty old school about that. I, as much as possible, support the brick and mortar hobby shop people,
Okay.
and if those don't exist, well, what's the next best thing? But no, I sell strictly to distributors, who then in turn service the hobby dealers. So yeah.
Which distributors? Because I can go to the local hobby shop, Hurricane Hobbies. If I know what distributor to tell him, he can order me some stuff. So what distributors do you use?
Doll and Hobby is our largest.
Okay.
Of course, Hobby Time in Connecticut. MMD in Georgia, and out in California, we use Monsters in Motion. Our big. Let's see, who am I? I don't want to be missing anyone here now. Stevens International.
So Stevens does carry them? Because I know he has a Stevens account, but I might try to get him to open up a Doll and Hobby account, because I want to help Steve out, because he's a great guy. You've had some dealings with Steve. Is that something you can? He's helped you out a fair bit, hasn't he?
Steve has been wonderful. Steve has been wonderful every step of the way. And whenever I have a question, I run it through Steve, and because Steve's got that experience of, the retail side of things, the production, manufacturing side of things. So he's got a tremendous amount of experience, and he's very happy and generous to share his wealth of knowledge, and he's a very good friend. So yeah.
Now Steve sells the models through the Doll and Hobby business, Georgia Doll and Hobby. Okay, so I can tell Ian, if he doesn't, he might open an account with him.
Steve just thanked you on the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Steve. He earned it.
Not to forget Peter Vetri and Rick.
And Rick, yep.
Peter and
I tried to.
Wonderful.
Steve deals with them on a regular basis. So.
Yeah, no. Peter and Rick have been wonderful for me. So yes, as I said to Max earlier, I think a rising tide floats all ships, and I think that's been the attitude. So it's been very collegial at all steps.
That's a beautiful thing, because you don't see a lot of that business anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got planned for the future? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So there's always great ideas out there. Like I said, my preference at this moment, and I think Steve Iverson even agrees with me, is I would like to see a good model kit of the War of the Colossal Beast. And we've already sort of discussed the scene, and believe me, it's in there. There's a competing thought to do the Terror from Beyond Space.
Oh yeah,
That'd be great. That'd be
I
great.
agree. Another solid choice.
Has anybody done The Thing? I'm talking about the James Arness thing.
Yeah,
I think there is a kit out there.
There's a resin kit of that.
there's never been plastic for the James Arness thing. I guess, I don't know, is he that scary though? I mean, he's got the kind of the funny shaped head, but he's, as a model kid on
I'm not thinking scary so much as iconic.
Yeah. So,
It's
I don't
like
know.
Gord.
Useless trivia.
Like Gord. Yeah.
Useless trivia. You know, James Arness, even when he played the thing, and definitely played in Matt Dillon, he had that kind of funny walk. You know, that gait. You familiar with why?
No.
Took a bullet through the hip at Anzio.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so because I know someone's making the thing spaceship, and although I think that may be the later movie, but I mean, Steve and I, we've got a penchant for the old school sci-fi, so we're probably not your best, target market. But a lot of new stuff has come out, but I imagine that stuff all has extremely high rights on it, and they would hunt you down. I mean, there are a couple of franchises out there, anything related to Disney, man, they will hunt you down like Steve McQueen in Wanted Dead or Alive.
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't even go near it.
But let me throw another question at you. Let's say that I want to have a series of models made, but I'm not set to do it, but I know you are. And I say, hey, Scott, can you help me with your connections and everything? I want to make a series of model cars or model airplanes, 4 or 5, 30 parts, 40 parts each. What is somebody who wants to kick off something like that, you think they'd be real dollars wind up spending to get 1,000 units made, 3,000 units?
I would say if you want to have those 1,000 units in your home garage, wherever you're going to store it at home, you would have to be prepared to spend $50,000 before you see 1 penny back in return.
Okay, well, that's kind of where I was thinking maybe.
Meanwhile, Sarah Jane, our resident model builder from England, just says, "Hey, no
Quatermass. Quatermass, yeah, that's an interest. That's still got a pretty strong following.
Sorry, who is that?
Quatermass?
Quatermass. You don't know who Quatermass is?
No.
Scott, we're gonna have to educate you, son. You're missing some great sci-fi. Steve, this is your ballpark. Why don't you give him the quick lowdown? The Brian Donlevy and the later one.
Quatermass was a TV show.
British
in England. The BBC wrote, and they turned them into movies. And they made 3 movies, and they were still making Quatermass TV shows up until like the late 90s, early 2000s. But the 3 movies that they made were very, very well received. You might want to give them a look. They're on YouTube. There's 3 movies: the Quatermass Experiment, the Quatermass 2: Enemy from Space, and Quatermass in the Pit. You might want to look at them.
The Pit's the only one that's in color, right?
Yeah, Pit's the only one that's in color.
Now, the first 2 had Brian Donlevy, both of them?
Yeah.
Which there was a little bit of a flat in the UK about using an American actor, which I can understand, but I guess they thought Donlevy had the marquee appeal.
Well, he had the marquee appeal to sell the film in the U.S.
Yes.
And that was why he was in there.
And
But they're pretty good movies. Give them a look. You'd like them.
The first one I saw, which is the first one to have a British lead in the movies, was The Pit. I saw it on TV, and it was, I think, the only one in color. And a lot of people pick on it, but I'm like, hey, when you're 10 years old, it's terrifying. Giant grasshoppers.
Didn't like that one.
Yeah, that was Steve's least favorite, but it was the first one I saw. Even kind of the first, like the first James Bond movie I ever saw at the theater was The Man with the Golden Gun with Roger Moore. And I didn't even know this guy named Sean Connery had ever been Bond. I mean, I was freaking 8, 10 years old, and boy, did I get corrected by my brother who'd read all the books.
God, where in Canada are you?
About 2 hours east of Detroit, between Detroit and Toronto, in London.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah.
Steve's been to Canada a
This
lot.
is the Canadian Tire.
The crowd says, I'm waiting for the video game where Max builds models and has to overcome problems.
That's every night on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But, hey, I got the circuit board working, though, so, I'm so proud of myself. Didn't melt this one down or toast the back of it or anything. Those solders aren't, they're not that bad. Not for somebody who just started yesterday.
Not too bad. You still got room for improvement, but hey.
Oh, absolutely. Could use a little bit better equipment, but anyway. So Scott, when did you had to shut down for a little while? I seem to remember. What's the story on that?
Yeah, so after Gorgo, and Gorgo was, is a real mess. And so we did the 1,000 units of the Dr. Jekyll Dracula kit. And I thought, I wasn't really enjoying things as much with the whole production side. And Gorgo, as I said, really took the wind out of my sails because I was just responding to missing pieces every single day, like emails for missing pieces. So I thought, well, this isn't really that much fun anymore. And I've got other things I've got to be worried about. So I thought, I'll just take a break from this. And plus it was all based on hand sculpting prototypes, and that itself is a huge nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Oh, anyone who talks about hand sculpted prototypes is out of their mind. Leave that to the sculptor to do for his own shelf on his own time, but don't turn it into a production piece. So I thought, nuts to this, I'm just going to back away. But, so a little time goes by and you happen to get nostalgic, and, nostalgic is an unfortunate weakness for us all. And there was still enough money in the Monarch account where I thought, well, what do I do with this? It's corporate money. Write myself a dividend or whatever. So I thought, well, there's enough there to do something, but what? And at that point, the whole digital sculpting for me started to become more and more apparent, and ZBrush and STL files and all that. And I thought, and I was seeing more and more of this. And I thought, this is probably the way to go, or it absolutely is the way to go. And then, of course, the question was, what subject matter and who to do this subject matter. So the Fly was a no-brainer. I mean, everyone had been talking about the Fly forever, decades, right? So I thought, okay, there's enough money there to do one project, and if it's going to be at my coda, it will be the Fly. So now the Fly, you would think, was just a one-shot deal in terms of the production. No. I went through three sculptors. And again, like I said before, make your mistakes small so they cost little. But when it comes to sculpting, there's no such thing as a small mistake. So one sculptor, very good sculptor, hand prototype sculpt, but just did not understand the character whatsoever. And all the communication in the world wasn't helping. So that got scrapped. Money down the drain. Then a common good friend of all of us, well-known, that we all know and like, introduced me to another well-known sculptor who sounded like he had all the skills to do the job. Again, he didn't really quite understand it. He made a very good prototype. It was a very good prototype, but it just, when you looked at it, it was riddled with undercuts everywhere. And I thought, this is never going to fly.
Undercuts? What do you have?
Oh, sorry, an undercut in a prototype is something that you cannot pull from the mold because it's the mold itself.
Okay, I got you. So they mold an entire bent arm and fingers. You can't get that out of the mold. Precisely. So, and the sculptor sort of indicated that he understood all this, that he was experiencing all this. But I'm looking at the prototype going, well, here's an undercut, there's an undercut, there's an undercut, there's an undercut. It can't be molded. So that was thrown in the trash. So, but at that moment, Michael Berglund had revealed his one of his digital creations, that character from the Dell comic book with the spring-heeled jack. So Michael Berglund had revealed the spring-heeled jack that he had done digitally, and I thought, this guy knows exactly the Aurora look, and he knows how to sculpt. So I got in touch with Michael. And Michael's a wonderful human being. Like, if you want to interview someone on your channel, it should be Michael. What's his name? Michael
Berglund. Berglund.
Yeah, if you can give me some way to contact him, I'll,
Done and done. He's an angel of a human. Absolutely. So Michael, I got in touch with Michael, and he was familiar with Monarch and he was very happy to come on board and sculpt. And again, so he just took all the information that I'd gathered up from the previous sort of failed sculpts and made this what we have out there on the market, as you know, today. So, sorry, I've kind of lost track. What was the original point of all this?
We were talking about when you got back into model. We got why you got out and then you got back in.
Right. So the point is, okay, two things. The point is, one, abandon conventional hand, sculpted prototypes. Big waste of money, big waste of time. As ZBrush, digital sculpting, STL files, 100% the way to go. And then two, because of Gorgo and all the degating nightmares, then I said, okay, this kit, all the molds have to be designed, like I said, pull from the mold, polybag, drop in a box. No one's degating nothing. To make a perfect kit. And that's, we did that with the Fly, and then, the Fly encouraged the moon suit, and the, Conga, and so on. So
I recall from when I did the video that you had a mold sculpt made of Polyphemus.
Yes.
What happened with that?
Beautiful. So Matt Mannett did that prototype, and it's a beautiful prototype. There's a few issues that I have with it on the shelf when you examine it on the shelf. And again, the main character should look at the person. Like if I've got a kid of Polyphemus on the shelf, I want Polyphemus looking back at me.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Polyphemus is looking almost too much at Odysseus.
I noticed he was looking down. Yeah.
Yeah, and Odysseus about to throw his spear at him, which is dramatic, sure, but maybe less desirable. Anyhow, Polyphemus, it's still an idea, but Michael and I have talked about reworking the whole Polyphemus prototype and making it a little bit, making it digital for one thing, and then revisiting the idea. So, yes, I do have the prototype, the original prototype, but it would be reworked digitally by Michael first. And again, it'd be based on classic mythology with Odysseus and other hoplites, and then, of course, Polyphemus.
Well, Steve, have you got any questions?
No, I think he's answered
Ken?
just about everything we could throw at him.
Oh, please. It's only 8 o'clock. We have a begun to start the interrogation.
So,
Ken mostly checks the comment stream, and throws out stuff. And
so would you say in the next, let's say 24 months, how many kids do you think you are in the process of possibly bringing to market?
So the sales
Not what are they, just how many do you think there'll be?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, each kit has to essentially pay for the follow-up kit. So, because as I said, the moon suit, huge disappointment in terms of sales. Great kit, my favorite kit, an awesome kit, but struggling with sales. Honestly, Nosferatu, once again, Nosferatu came to our rescue. Nosferatu continued sales. If it wasn't for Nosferatu, I don't even know if Conga would exist. So Conga sales will determine what happens with either the World of the Colossal Beast or it, the Terror from Outer Space. Chatting with Steve in terms of his role at, Cult TV Man and other sort of retailers, the thought is it a good time to bring back the Ghost and do a small run of the Ghost or another small run of Gorgo? Again, Gorgo and the Ghost would be presented in our, square box kind of format. Again, nothing would be degated. It would just be plopped into the box, no degating whatsoever, polybag.
what would a limited run in numbers be? 500, 1,000?
1,000 tops. 1,000 tops. Yeah. 1,000. I can reasonably expect to sell 1,000. After that, it's a struggle. So for a second production run, Nosferatu, Gorgo, Ghost, I wouldn't produce more than 1,000. Yeah. And then probably that would be it for those molds. But then that would help pay for if we do the Colossal Beast. If we do the Terror from Beyond Space. So if I were to, to specifically speak to Steven's question, in 24 months, I would ideally suggest a brand new model kit mold, whether it's it or whether it's the Colossal Beast, and then possibly a small production run of either Gorgo or the Ghost, again in the new square box format.
Steve, someone's asking about your favorite. What about Commando Cody?
One of my Blue Troopers here just asked about
what about Commando Cody?
Characters of all time, Commando Cody.
Also known as Radar Men from the Moon. That was how I saw that unit. Are you familiar with Commander Cody?
No.
It's 40s serial, 1940s serial?
Late 40s,
early 50s.
Guy had a rocket suit.
A proto-rocketeer.
Well, I would say if the moon suit's struggling to sell.
Fair enough.
As it's been told to me by people who build these models, they want monsters, monsters, monsters. They don't want humans. So I've kind of steered away from the humans and towards the monsters.
Steve, what was the name of those monsters on Terror Island? Those big germ things? Was it Terror Island?
No, the one with Peter Cushing.
Was it Peter Cushing where they had the big cells?
The giant amoebas, but
kind of things.
They sucked all your innards out.
Yeah, those are. That was a terrifying movie. It scared the crap out of me at 12 years of age.
I'm thinking if you're doing the War of the Colossal Beast, he's got to be holding the bus up in front of the planetarium.
That is the scene.
Well, again, do you pick the planetarium scene or do you pick the
airport? I go with the airport, but
I wouldn't do the airport. I do because the LA the scene up at the observatory, that's like the iconic scene from the movie.
You think so?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's me. If I was going to do the Rocketeer, I would do him, at a Griffith standing by the flag with the Mauser C-96 in his hand. To me, that's like the perfect pose, But
I mean, you've seen the movie, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
See, I think when he's holding the school bus up in front of the planetarium, that's kind of it.
There's the challenge there would be because there's a resin kit of that already.
Yeah.
Do you want to follow a resin kit?
You could have him touching the wires where it turns color at the end of the movie.
Yeah. There. A funny story about that. There is a resin kit out there of him touching the wires.
And I know you don't want to do anything that's already been done, which makes sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's Monarch. How do I put this? That prototype of that figure touching those wires was paid for by Monarch. So.
There's a story here.
Yeah, there's a story there, and I don't necessarily want to make it a public story, but it's...
we found something.
Yeah, a prototype was paid for and never delivered. So...
That ain't right. I can't say it's never happened.
Yeah, it sounds like China.
No.
No.
This is made in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you ever need the rights to the movie, let me know. I can help you out there.
I had the rights to the movie.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm good friends with the grandfather, with the grandson of the guy who owned AIP.
Yeah, through the licensing agency, I paid the money to get the rights to the War of the Colossal Beast, and a prototype was made. A prototype is never delivered.
That's a shame.
And the 3-year contract expired, and that resin prototype exists. You can buy it today. So,
for what it's worth, I have talked to 3 people, smaller operators, who run kit model companies. I spoke to Nick Argento over at Glencoe, and I spoke to an individual who did a couple on his own, and he still has them, and a third individual. And in each case, getting the patterns or the molds cut was an unholy nightmare. Glencoe Models pretty much only repops old kits from old Strombecker kits and stuff like that. But Nick decided he was going to do an Albatross, a World War I biplane, and which finally did get produced. But he gave me the rundown without getting boring with the details. It was probably the closest to planning a homicide he ever came. It was a nightmare to get that thing done. Now, I don't know what your experience has been, and with the computer sculptors, it's probably not so bad. But I know a kit model company that's still in business today, does resin ships, and I had a nice chat when I bought one of their ships. She was telling me their sculptor, one sculptor does all their stuff, and he does beautiful work, but he just has demons, and it can take months to get a sculpt that should have been ready in a single month because he's just. But you're dealing with the art. How can it be? You're dealing with the artistic types, which if anyone who's ever worked in Hollywood or in the music industry could tell you, they can be geniuses in their field, but really temperamental to work with.
Yeah, good point. I could go on for days about that.
They're usually not good business people either.
No, they're terrible.
This is the point. So there are artists, there are commercial artists, which are wonderful to work with, and then there are fine artists who believe that they are commercial artists, and they are the worst thing you could ever come across. Like, they will make your life horrible. So here's a nice analogy I like to put forward. If I dream up a green circle, and I take it to a commercial artist, and I say, here is a green circle. Can you make this for me and make it pretty? The commercial artist will say, not a problem. Here's my fee for making this green circle. I want you to look at this color. It's a little bit off green. It's a little bit blue, but it might look good. Now I'll look at the bluish green circle. I'll go, that's actually really nice. That's an improvement. Thank you for suggesting that. Let's go for that. A fine artist who pretends to be a commercial artist will take my green circle and go, no, I do pink squares. I'm giving you a pink square. Pay me the money. And they'll want the money. They'll demand the money, and they only do pink squares. Who cares about your green circle? You're getting a pink square. Now pay me the money. So there's a lot of that out there with fine artists masquerading as commercial artists. And as I said, there are small mistakes that cost a little money. There are big mistakes that cost a lot of money. And Monarch's made them all. But one thing I will not work with are fine artists any longer. And anyone who pushes clay, I don't want to talk to them. It's strictly STL, digital sculpting, because you can find that with very talented people. Michael Berglund is probably one of the most talented digital sculptors you're gonna meet. And he is a commercial artist.
We have I'm going to throw a name out here. We have a gentleman who watches this channel. In fact, he made this logo for it. It's me and my Mustang with my cat breaking out of my old shed. We call it the TARDIS because it looks a little bit like the TARDIS from Doctor Who. He made me a beautiful print that's up on the wall. But his name's Matthew Teven. He's in the UK. And Matt does, you can see his work online. He does YouTube videos. Matt Line, I think it's 1968. He just posted one last night, in fact. And he's an enormous Airfix and fan of the Jerry Anderson stuff. So he does a lot of fantasy box art if Airfix had made the Angel Interceptor or whatever. And he does really great work. And he does it all on a computer. And he said he had wanted to do box art for a career, but unfortunately lives in an age where box art's all, digital now. And there's just not that much work anymore. If you want, I can shoot you his email. Just if you want to tell him what you're up to, maybe he'll spit some ideas out. He's a great guy, and he would make a great commercial artist because he's very quick and he's very capable. And I gave him a rough outline, and so I would love to have me doing this with the cat, with my cat and my little cat, and he popped out exactly what was in my mind with a 2-paragraph description, so he understands. We have a channel friend and a personal friend of mine, all of ours, named Mike Mashat, who is a retired aviation artist. He's done other stuff, but that was primarily. I mean, he was on staff at Douglas and at Edwards Air Force Base. He has 4 paintings hanging in the Air and Space Museum, the Smithsonian. So, I mean, he is a world class. He worked with all the big ones. And a lot of the people who watch this channel are big fans of box art. And Kashady and Steele and all these others. But Linwood is my personal favorite. Jack Linwood, I don't know if you're familiar or not at all, but Jack Linwood did a lot of the Revell. He did for a lot of the companies, but I did the bio on Jack Linwood. And Jack was also a pilot, which helped because he did a lot of aircraft, but he understood all the concepts of selling the product. He had the cram the box theory where nobody cares about wingtips, so the airplane was right up in your face. He had great angles, good color contrast. It was just, and what shocked the crap out of me was how fast he could knock these things out. He probably spent no more than a week on any of them. And he did movie posters, and I think it was Airport 77, the one with 747 goes in the water and is on the edge of the cliff underwater with Jack Lemmon. And anyway, he did the movie poster for it where it's teetering on the cliff underwater and the rocks are well, he apparently had submitted some stuff. He had submitted the drawing or illustrator. He always said I'm an illustrator, not an artist. And he did the illustration, and they had all these changes they wanted made, so he took it home. They had to have it the next day. And he started making the changes. He realized he just threw it and started with a clean sheet and just did it again from scratch and had it at the office the next morning. I mean, there was never a greater professional at that kind of stuff. And he taught at a couple of the commercials or illustrator schools, and he made a comment. I went there to go here. I think you'll appreciate this. People in his class are talking about, we want to be artists. He goes, if you want to be artist and learn to throw spaghetti on a wall and call it art, then go to Otis. I'm here to teach you how to do commercial illustration. Quick, efficient, and fast. And I make a really good living at it because of just that. And like you were saying, he was a dream for someone like yourself that's in business. You need it quick, you need it good, and you need it now. And whereas, like you say with the fine artist, you give them very detailed instructions, and you look at what they've done, and you're like, huh? Where did I ask for any of that?
Well, I'll tell you a little story. So Gorgo. So when the idea was to do Gorgo, our illustrator at the time said flat out, no, I want nothing to do with this. I'm not
Really?
Gorgo. Yeah, he refused to have anything to do with Gorgo in terms of illustrating for Gorgo. And so, a little more conversation, a little more, gentle massaging, and, he came around and said, all right, I'll do it. So the sculpt had been done, the prototype had been done, all the plastic side of Gorgo was finished. Gorgo was done, ready to go into production, right? I mean, the mold was ready. Everything was complete on the plastic side. But the illustrator for Gorgo said, it's not quite done yet. It's not quite done yet. It's 95% done. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's 95% done. You're just going to love it. Just give me more time. 2 years. 2 years. And finally I said, I can't hold up this project for 2 years because you're 95% done. I'm giving this to someone else. So enter John Graziano. I hope you're familiar with John Graziano.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. Another absolute angel of a man. He is deceased. He passed away recently, but a little over a year ago. But John was the illustrator for the Daily Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoon, and just a fantastic illustrator. So I'd gotten to know John just through the model, and he was a fan of Monarch, so he and I were in correspondence. So, and I knew he was an illustrator, and he'd done some work for me just for my own interest. So I said, John, can you help me? And to your point, he banged that thing out in, I think, 2 weeks. This beautiful illustration of Gorgo. At the same time, just because I wanted a little bit of variety, I also put the same project in front of Douglas Klauba, also a well-known illustrator. Same thing. Douglas just banged it out in a matter of weeks. So after 2 years of banging my head against the wall with my other in-house illustrator, who we all know, John Graziano and Douglas Klauba banged out 2 beautiful illustrations of Gorgo in under 2 weeks, and boom, I was able to make the boxes and then put Gorgo into production. But I thought, never again, never again. Stick with the tried commercial artists and steer clear of the fine artists. So
I was on a movie set. I got lucky and got to do a little bit of extras work in a couple of movies, just people in the background, crowd scenes and stuff. And most of the actors were very professional. You see them walk around with the tissues around their collar because they got all the makeup. They just came out of makeup or whatever. But you always had to get out of their way as an extra, non-speaking extra. You didn't talk to them. You sure as hell didn't ask for an autograph. You were a non-person. You were just set dressing. But it's nice to see them. But anyway, but every once in a while, everybody's in there. You got 30 extras. You got principals, dialogue principals and everything. Sound guy, camera guy, lighting. Everybody's ready to go. And the whole thing gets, and you think about the money that's being spent. It's just, you can sit there and hear the set leaking money. And all it's hold up because one principal just, just not feeling it right now. And I'm kind of like, and then, Your Honor, is we heard the sound of them gasping for air as they were strangled by the director.
Yeah. Well, this is it, right? I mean, Gorgo languished for 2 years waiting for the box art.
I wonder if he ever even really started it.
I'm sorry?
I wonder if he even started it.
Well, this is it. I never saw the illustration. I never saw the finished piece. So, who knows? Who knows? But, again, it's one of these things I don't know how you learn it if you don't learn it the hard way. I don't know if there's an easy way to learn that.
By talking to people like you and finding out who the reliable folks are.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, digital all
the way.
Our friend of the channel, Jim Keeler, and Jim used to be in charge of product development for many years for Revell and then for Aurora. And he's quite a known industry legend, so to speak, in his own time. Jim used to use Lenwood all the time, and he said they'd give him the concept. He'd go home and come back 3 days later and have it roughed out. They'd tell him what they didn't like. He'd go home and come back the next day. It would be done.
Yeah.
Lenwood also... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Because he was a professional.
Very.
Yeah.
Lenwood also... I'm sorry, Tom Daniel, who did all the famous Monogram Tom Daniel series. A lot of people know he also did the Munster Coach. And now what happened was Barris gave him the idea. He said, TD, this is what I want. And he scratched that thing out in a couple of days, within a week, and took it to him, and Barris is happy and went off and built the car. Now, it was Barris's idea. I don't want to take away from... Steve has a lot about Barris, but TD was telling me that... he gave him the check right there, which he needed for Christmas shopping or whatever. But he
got no credit.
He got no credit for it. But he also understood he wasn't going to get credit. I think he understood that this was just a contract. He knew he wasn't going to get credit. I was just sketching out Barris's ideas. But it was. I talked to TD about that. He used to get like $400 a car plus a royalty.
He got $200 for doing the Munster Coach.
Yeah, and. That's right, but back in, 66 or whatever, that was real money. Today it's a bar tab. I love talking with TD because, he was in the kit model industry for so long. He knew Besser and Reeder, who ran Monogram, and all those people. And it just, he name drops. If you're a model historian like I am, the average person on the street has no idea who we're talking about. But to model geeks like us, it's like... Dude, these are the guys who started and ran Monogram for years. I mean, they built my childhood, and I guess Keeler and TD are about the only ones left now. And TD just turned 87, of course the industry has changed a lot. They used to run 50,000 at a pop, and now you're running 5,000, which is why they cost.
Oh, no. It's down. I would say, everyone's, I'm sure, different, but I would say not reliably higher than 3,000. I wouldn't even say 3,001. I mean, if you get to 2,999, that's great.
The only people I know that are selling in really huge numbers, and I mean like old school, are the Gundam guys. They're doing 35 million units a year.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'm a little perplexed by it.
Because they have to, because it's popular with people under 30. They grew up on Transformers and stuff. My own son, I couldn't get it. He didn't get his license until he's 18 because he just, we grew up. We were at the DMV on our 16th birthday. Today, like, yeah, I'll take an Uber. I'll meet my friends on Facebook. So just a generational difference and technology difference. But you talk about Gundam and he's focused and centered. What do you got?
I was just out in San Diego visiting my son. There's a Gundam section in a Japanese department store there, and I put a video up on YouTube. There must be 1,000 different kits.
Wow!
In this section,
and they fly off the shelves.
And they're constantly restocking. I could not believe that I saw that many kits. I mean, it probably takes up in this store 1,000, 1,500 square feet, and it's nothing but shelf upon shelf upon shelf of different Gundams.
We have a place here, Mythical Mountain, that sells all kinds of movie related, just and it's mostly a younger generation. Hurricane Hobbies, which is my haunt, guys my age and older. Mythical Mountain, just down the road, all the people under 40, and all the Iron Man and all that kind of stuff, and they got an entire wall of Gundam. And no other models, But
well, if you go to
me. All the Gundam figures all look the same to me. It looks like
because it's not our world,
Yeah.
Guys, Steve, I'm going to have
Hobby Lobby, and Hobby Lobby used to be just planes and cars and boats, and now there's a huge section which is taken away from those categories. For Gundam, that's right. I just saw that the other day. Steve, I'm going to have you take the helm for a minute. I have to get a little more cough medicine. Well, that's dangerous, but okay.
Scott, I'll be right back.
Oh, sure.
Steve, you have the helm, number one.
Thank you, Captain.
I'm watching the chat over here, and Sluggo says, this is interesting. I'm not sure what Bill said, but he said they're talking about finding room for models that they build. One of them said, I built a B-36 with a 36-inch wingspan. He says, I don't know where I'm going to put that. And the other guy says, Sluggo
the
said,
driveway.
There you go. Anyway, Bill says, nope. Or how about a 1-to-1 scale Enterprise captain's chair in the middle of the room?
No. No. So, Scott, you happen to be in a really unique position because you focus on the categories of sci-fi/fantasy that there's still a lot of things that haven't been done yet.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, it's
Yes.
a huge treasure trove of kid ideas.
Yeah, you have a lot of places to go.
Yeah, and that's part of the conversation with every new kid is, where are we going to put our money? Because as I mentioned, if it's $50,000 before you see any penny of return, it's a gamble. Where am I going to throw this money? Which characters? One of the things I like to do, for me personally, is I'll flip through just the classic covers of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and I'll look at the faces and go, which one of these would make a great model kit? The Colossal Beast is a cover on Famous Monsters. So was Gorgo. So was Sinbad, actually, one of our chicks. Not the Ghost, of course. That was a completely made-up concept. Actually, let me tell you about the Ghost, if you want to hear about the Ghost.
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
So the Ghost. So Gary Makatura, who illustrated for the Ghost, he had this idea that he wanted to do a ghost of the attic, like literally the attic of your old, musty house, and a ghost. But what he had was essentially a bed sheet with all the ripples for the hands underneath and all that. And kind of looked at it and said, and a beautiful base of an attic. But I said, Gary, I mean, why on earth would it? I mean, it looks like a childish thing. I said, why would anyone want to have anything to do with a bed sheet, floating in their attic? So so then he and I were talking. He said, "Well, the Ghost of Castle Mayor. What about the Ghost of Castle Mayor?" And I thought, okay, you're on to something with that. And so then the idea was is you have your the forgotten prisoner. If he's going to be a ghost, you want to flesh him out a little bit more. So we added a little bit more flesh and a little, less tattered to his clothing. Make him a little more, complete as a person, and sort of ran with that idea. But the original ghost was envisioned as just a haunted floating bedsheet. So I again, one of these things where I said to Gary, I am not putting $50,000 on the line for a floating bedsheet.
But sometimes it's a simple idea that turns into something.
And this is the problem. You never know. You just never know, right? So.
Yeah. But it becomes more important because the investment is so huge.
Yeah.
Well, a floating sheet can be done with a vac kit very easily, though, as opposed to setting up a styrene mold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So
What?
You got to sit down and decide. Okay, what's going to give me the best bang for the buck?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
What about you got me thinking about all these old movies I used to watch. I tell you, and there's so many creatures out there that were that would be
Laughable? Laughable.
Yeah, they were, but they're popular.
The giant claw.
No, not that popular. If you've never seen the giant claw, okay. Normally, Scott, have you seen the giant claw?
Not familiar with.
Don't.
I want to.
The green slime is fun, okay? The giant claw is embarrassing.
The giant claw was so bad that when they filmed the movie, they didn't show the stars of the movie what it was going to be, and then they cut those scenes in after they filmed their scenes.
And boy, were they happy.
Yeah, they were thrilled.
Well, let's see. Okay, Steve, what are a few very popular, probably royalty-free monsters? And please don't say Robot Monster, because that was just bad. No. But the green slime, which, okay, admittedly, I'm obviously quite prejudiced towards. And actually wouldn't be that simple a mold because of all the tentacles.
Yeah.
With this Island Earth.
Yeah,
I have a personal affection for the Robot Monster, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I love the Robot Monster. I mean, terrible movie, but it's still a kind of a fun-looking figure,
Okay.
Night of the Blood Beast?
What?
Night of the Blood Beast?
Night of the Blood. Well,
the Morlock, the Morlock.
The Morlocks. There you go.
Now, interesting story on that though. Steve Iverson had some experience with the resin version of the Morlock, and he said he struggled to sell it. So,
but resin has a lot of going against it because it's resin. I myself, even though I've built some resin kits, I tend to shy away from them.
Well, it would be really cool to do a styrene time machine with the Morlock.
Yes, and the time machine has been sort of emailed to us many, many, many times as, why don't you do the time machine? Great idea, but I think it's been done, right?
Not that I know of.
Not in a styrene kit.
Not in styrene.
Yeah.
Okay, you could probably never get the rights for this, at least not at an affordable price. But if you want to put a modern twist on it, do the time machine with Sheldon Cooper in the Morlocks from the episode of The Big Bang Theory where he has his nightmare scene. I'm pretty sure, I'm sorry, but just the novelty alone would sell 3,000 of those. But you could probably never get the rights for it, yeah, because that, Christ, those guys are all that was a, but it's a pity because I'd buy one. Of course, anything from Star Trek's going to cost you money. Oh, a Mugatu. I would buy a Mugatu like that. The gorilla, the white gorilla with the spikes from Star Trek.
Right.
The Gorn.
The Gorn. Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, I don't know if you get them. Those rights might be too expensive, but those would fly off the shelves.
Something tells me a Star Trek license would be pretty pricey.
You know what, though? Those were one-episode characters from the original series. You never know. I want to tell you a story about somebody who hand makes dolls, who is absolutely not my wife. And she makes dolls, and she does characters from TV shows at the customer's request. And she put on eBay this beautiful Catwoman that she did. And the next day she got an email from Julie Newmar.
Wow.
That was...
I'd like to get an email from Julie Newmar.
If you don't want a C&D, please don't do my character. So any other similar characters have been inspired by Catwoman, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But this in no way reflects anybody I know that's a part of my life. But
Let's talk about movies that were made in Canada.
Well, I'm just thinking you could
Fiend
do
Without
some
a Face.
What?
Fiend Without a Face.
Fiend Without a Face, and that's easy mold because there's no face.
First Man into Space.
But you could do a lizard man that just happens to look like a lot like the Gorn, with spikes on his back that you don't have to put on. Just saying.
You're absolutely right. If you don't use the word Star Trek and you don't use the word Gorn, you can make a generic figure.
Well, Atlantis is now making the B-24 heavy bomber because they couldn't say Consolidated Liberator because Boeing bought the company, so now it's just B-24 World War II heavy bomber. Anybody that's going to buy one knows what it is. You know, I'm like, I can't believe they're hunting down kit model companies over this.
They're still paying the license.
Yeah, easier. It's just, good God, people.
Boeing's desperate for money, apparently.
Well, given the year they've had, I'm not surprised.
This goes back a long time before they were desperate for money, Ken.
Oh, okay.
I do want to make a special mention. I love that green plastic Phantom of the Opera that Atlantis did recently. If you're not familiar with it, Steve would be familiar. The green plastic. No, not glow.
Oh, just the green one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love the plastic color. Maybe we can talk about that for a moment.
Please.
Plastic color. So, as you know, I don't, or you might not know, but I don't paint anything. I just assemble them and put them on the shelf. So for me, the plastic color is everything, right? So
You just described my childhood. I never had money for paint, so I prayed the model came in something close to the proper color.
Or something completely different. Steve may be familiar with the test shots of King Kong that were done in the red plastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful. So, I mean, I've always preferred to pick a interesting plastic color to look at. You know, if a person doesn't intend to paint it, if you're going to cover it in primer, then who cares what color you inject it with? But a lot of time actually goes into all the Pantone colored samples to determine which one has the most visual appeal, in my humble opinion.
Well, the good thing about molding in color is it lowers the age attraction, because you get kids who they don't have paint skills, but they want that kit and it's in color and looks fine when it's done.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't afford the paint.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that too.
Yeah. So so every kit that you see, the Pantone, or sorry, each plastic color is a very specifically selected Pantone color. So
Now, see, in the old days, that was what color was left in the
Oh,
factory
God.
that molded it.
yeah,
So, Abe Shikes over at Aurora, the Aurora decided they were going to try and get girls interested in model building. So they came up with some kit ideas that were supposed to be aimed at girls. It was plastic flowers or something like that. I forget what it was. But they had all these bright, girly colors. And it was an absolute, abject disaster. So Aurora was stuck with all these tiring pellets and bright colors, which is why you were getting... Andy Anches had one of the bright pink Jolly Green Giant helicopters that he never built. He sent me a picture of all the parts laid out in brilliant pink. They did not... but you wound up getting... green, yellow tanks. Just all kinds of colors and stuff. And they were just trying to use up the material. And
The thing that pushed colored plastic in kits was when they came out with snap kits in the 70s.
uh-huh.
Because the whole prospect of snap kits was to get younger kids involved in the hobby because it didn't need glue. So the next best thing was, well, let's not only make it snap together, but let's make it in a color. So when it's finished, the kid looks like he has a very nicely finished kit.
Yeah.
That was what started the colored kits.
Those were the last kits that Tom Daniel designed were snap kits. And some of the more cartoony ones. I remember the guys at Monogram were not happy about making the more cartoon-oriented cars. You know, that goofy stuff got real popular in the late 70s. And but when they saw the sales numbers, they just couldn't say no. Because Monogram had always considered it the serious model company. But
well, see, when they first came out with snap kits, we used to call them fall aparts. Because they'd snap together, but they'd come apart. They wouldn't stay together.
Yeah, they really would.
They had to kind of develop them a little bit more. But
well, Scott, I want to run a question by you. And we've talked about this before on this channel, so we've kind of been over this material, but I want to get your read on it. The belief is that the golden era of model building was, say, 60 to 75, something like that. Okay? Everybody was at their zenith. And by 69, things are starting to level off. That's why Monogram they actually sought acquisition by Mattel. Because they were afraid that we get gobbled up by somebody. Turned out to be a big mistake. That is another story. However, and I think Steve may be the one who brought this to my attention, I believe we're living in the true golden era of model building now. True, we're not running 50,000 at a pressing. Okay, the numbers are way down, but the selection is, because most of the old kits are still around. People like you are still making, the kits that probably other companies are like, yeah, not enough. You're filling a niche, if you don't mind my saying that.
Yeah, very much a niche.
And we now have, and you're talking about the STL files, we now have a bigger selection of higher detailed, better fitting kits than we've ever had in history. So if I could get you to elucidate on that, what's your opinion?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I still have a stack of vintage Aurora kits that I go through. I build my vintage Aurora kits. I build my vintage Pyro dinosaurs. My most recent build is the MPC Fonzie and his Triumph motorcycle. That's what I'm working on right now, is Fonzarelli and his Triumph motorcycle. He's got it over there. But the part fit, just brutal. It's terrible.
It really is bad.
It's because those little itty bitty tiny guide pins that they use, they didn't mold very well at all, it seems. Whereas now that, of course, the guide pins are considerably more substantial. And I haven't opened a Gundam kit, but I've heard that the Gundam kit assembly is kind of like just throw the two pieces together and they're together perfectly. That the guide pins are very stout and there's no messing around.
Yeah, also the instructions are very, very, very well made, but they have to be because you have a lot of parts that could easily go in backwards and be mixed up for the wrong part. I built several Gundams, including some of them all gifts of the Glue Troopers, by the way, and thank you guys for that. All of which are, with the one exception of the one I have down here, they're all adorning my son's bedroom in his condo. And they're important enough and detailed enough and heavy enough that I actually ran a wire across them on the wall to make sure they didn't fall over or anything. They are unbelievably, and they come with springs and everything, so the wings will pop out and stuff. The engineering behind them is a thing to behold. I'd recommend just go grab one, just for the solely for the edification and learning, see how they do things. You might decide to copy some of what they're doing. That just is me. I never watched Transformers until the movies came out. I'm not really a big Gundam guy, but several of the Glue Troopers, that's all they do. And I know with the youth, it's extremely, but do gazillion YouTube videos about it. And I'm like, hey, it's got them into building stuff. Go for it.
Yeah.
But
you know what the best selling snap kit of all time was?
I think I should know this. What?
Snoopy.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's actually not surprising because I have a Snoopy in my shed along with the Red Baron, and the guys at Atlantis sent me the hockey thing, and I put it together. It actually works. You can play it.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law saw that, and it's at her house now.
I had to fight with Pete for 4 months to run those kits.
And how many? And they've sold what, 500,000?
They
bunch.
sold a lot of them. That was the best-selling kits they ever had.
But
And they still don't listen to you?
No.
let's don't go there.
That's a whole separate story.
Now, Scott, for you, question: dinosaurs.
Sure.
You have the floor.
Yeah. So I like a simple kit. Like a simple kit, like the Pyro dinosaurs, that I can open the box on a Saturday afternoon, and by dinner time, it is done. It's ready to be on the shelf, and I've enjoyed it. And so, as a kid growing up, the Pyro dinosaurs, they're perfect for that sort of thing. So I thought, we should do something similar. And so, depending on what trade show you've gone to or the hobby show, you might have seen our prototype that we were talking about, the Styracosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
The Styracosaurus would have been presented in the same manner as the Pyro dinosaur series, with the small white box, very simple mold, small base, small little caveman. Of course, it's obviously an anachronism.
You don't know. You weren't there.
Good point.
I'm waiting for him to find a skeleton of a dinosaur with a skeleton of a human tucked up inside the rib cage.
And I can't claim to be an expert, so
I'm just having fun. Don't mind me. I'm an idiot.
So we were going to pursue this prototype and got the mold price and everything. But because of our friends in the retail side of things, they kind of put up the red flags and said, "Great looking kit, expect not to sell any of them, or sell less than 500." So I guess
to me, it just came out with a whole range of dinosaurs.
And they're selling the heck out of them.
Well, I guess that's the question: is how much is the heck? I guess is that 3,000 units? So the gamble is, if I'm going to put my money on a dinosaur, I need to know I'm going to sell a good 3,000 of those.
I had the very fortunate pleasure to spend some time with an extremely senior Tamiya executive. Okay, thanks to a friend of ours out at JD Hobbies in San Pedro, California. Shameless shout out for Lou and the gang. And Tamiya won't touch a kit if they don't think they're going to sell 50,000 units. So just putting that out there. Okay, retailers. God, Steve, how can I put this without sounding like a total jerk?
It's your skill.
Yeah, that's true. Talking to people in retail, I'm going to get in trouble for this one. It's like talking to the street dealer, okay? He knows what happens in his bubble, but you're not talking to the cartel boss who has the big picture. Okay. Yeah, the retailers don't, because where they sell and where they're at, probably not a big thing, but that doesn't mean that overall they wouldn't sell well. And since you're talking about one that's close, near and dear to your heart, and I'm about to give you the worst advice you ever got, the good news is it comes to you absolutely free. I would say do that bad boy, put it out there, and see what happens. And like you say, you can make a small mistake. One, if it only sells 1,000, okay, you got stung a little bit, and now we learn. But no one else is making it, so you don't have any competition. And you ever watch the TV the series Mad Men about the ad executives in the 60s? Oh, God, Don Draper and Ecker, great series. Man, makes me really miss the 60s. But anyway, John Hamm plays this ad man, Mad Men advertising man on Madison Avenue. And he talks about new. People want new and improved. Mm-hmm. Right? They want the thing that hasn't been made. Just the novelty alone's 500. What are you snickering at, Ken?
Lance Morell just had a great idea. He said, "A kid of the T-Rex about to eat the lawyer on the toilet."
Oh God, how that would sell. But and you don't have to say Jurassic Park. You could just say T-Rex eats human on commode. Everyone's going to get it. But anyway, all I'm thinking is, and mind you, please remember, first off, 1, I'm an idiot. 2, I'm a blind. 3, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And 4, I've been drinking. So bear all those points in mind.
I love spending other people's money.
I'm really good at that. You took me out to dinner one time, you know that. And only one time. I'm sorry, Scott. We're here to have fun, so please join in. But anyway,
I was thinking, what the hell did I sign on for?
Yeah, well, anyway, all I'm thinking is that I actually think it sounds like a good idea, and since no one else is doing it, what limited market out there would be yours? Of course, it's not my money, so. But I guarantee if you put it out, I'll buy one.
Well, I mean, like I said, the idea is not dead. It's just not at the top shelf. So.
But you have to remember, I'm what they call an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my wife loves it when I go out, when I hang out with Ken, because she knows he will nitpick me on what I order for dinner, try to keep me on my diet. A losing battle, but at least he's trying.
I try very hard. Usually don't succeed.
But it does sound like a really interesting concept. No one else is making that particular dinosaur, right?
Correct. I don't think, other than the Aurora prehistoric scenes, the Styracosaurus has never been made in plastic.
Yeah, and you're talking about something. If somebody wanted to buy the vintage kit, they'd be out what? How much you figure it would sell for on eBay?
A lot, because prehistoric kits are a premium.
So realistically, you have no competition. There is still a huge, and now they just got another Jurassic Park movie coming out. So trying to use my business head and not my, let's see if I can get Scott to spend money head, because it's not my money. I'm not seeing a downside, but then I'm not the one taking the risk. But you have to watch me because I will absolutely encourage bad habits.
That's perhaps a kit to be done down the road when there's more of a stream coming in.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Fine, be the adult in the room, Steve.
Sorry.
But I'll tell you this much: if you do make it, I'll buy one. Steve will buy one. Ken's going to get 5 because I'm really good at spending his money. Still cheaper than taking me out to dinner.
As you said, it would be a good series kind of kit, right? I mean, if it does well, there's certainly no shortage of for dinosaurs that need to be done, and megafauna too, right? Pleistocene megafauna are something I always thought were interesting. So,
here's a thought: you wouldn't have to pay any royalties because it's a real thing. Megalodon, the shark, the gigantic shark. I don't think anybody makes that.
Probably not. No.
That would be an 8-piece kit?
Yeah, it wouldn't take much. I mean, the other fun thought I had was, classic mythology, right? Pegasus.
Oh, man. Being a pilot, Icarus.
Yeah. I mean, a guy with wings, sure. But,
Icarus and Daedalus, absolutely. Have one of them with the wings melting. I'm melting. God. No, I have no sympathy for that idiot. I'm sorry. I'm a pilot. Safety first, dude. Your dad warned you. That's like not listening to your flight instructor.
Yeah. Minotaur.
And think about this. Minotaurs have been used in other movies and stuff. Like, was it Scott? What's that? Scott something? What's the series I'm thinking of? Scott. Oh God! I know somebody's going to put it in the comments. The Minotaurs have been in a variety of series lately. Or one of them, it was the Minotaurs were the police officers. So you can officer the Minotaur and have a police waistcoat with the badge and helmet as an option to add to it. For Scott. Oh come on, guys! You've got to know what I'm talking about.
Scott Pilgrim.
Thank you, Scott Pilgrim. And there would be no rights required because, like you say, it's out of ancient mythology.
Yeah.
My God, that really is a rich. Now,
The Kraken?
huh?
The Kraken?
The
Yeah.
Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with Sheldon Cooper. If there was a Kraken, I would release it just so I could say release the Kraken. That has got to be like one of the three coolest Hollywood lines of all time.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get around to doing it, but the Ravel and Atlantis as well, the Ravel and Atlantis Phantom Kit with the little voodoo witch doctor. I mean, I always thought, it's the voodoo witch doctor looks silly in its tiny little presentation, but I thought, wouldn't that make an awesome kit if that was the focus of the kit?
Yes, yes. Oh, here's just coming up with bad ideas, which is my superpower. You could have like a couple of large hound dogs being released, with maybe glow-in-the-dark fangs or something. Say, release the
Hound
hounds.
of the Baskervilles.
But it would be disguised Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yeah, there's quite a few people who've suggested Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes has been suggested many, many times. But again, it's kind of like wonderful literary character, clearly. But how do you make that into a model kit that's exciting?
The Hound of the Baskervilles. I think we just covered that.
Yeah,
Running from dogs that are trying to eat them.
Another interesting thought that was put in front of me, which I seriously considered, were historical military figures, right?
Eisenhower, Rommel, absolutely.
Rommel was put quite high as a possibility.
Patton.
Erwin Dieter Rommel is a legendary figure for all of the right and wrong reasons, and I promise I won't go off on a history rant. World War II history is kind of a thing, but Rommel is venerated by everybody because of his quasi-involvement in the plot to kill Hitler. So they get to have this mythic figure who performed very well in the desert, and you have this with this very high, esteem, and he wasn't one of the quote-unquote bad guys. He was, in the collective conscience, he was sort of the good German. So everybody's happy with him, right? He kind of passes all the metrics. People don't get upset. I mean, Rommel's Rod, one of Tom Daniels' top-selling kits. I got one right there. Also one of his coolest cars, in my opinion, but anyway. But I always liked half-tracks. But someone like Rommel, I think, would be just an automatic.
Absolutely. 1/8 scale Rommel.
It's got a built-in audience, and you could sell it everywhere, even in Germany.
I'm thinking of Major Kong from
what about Major Kong? Yeah. Slim Pickens. Have you ever seen Dr. Strangelove? Add that. Okay, I'm going to send you a list of movies to watch. Dr. Strangelove is actually on the official list of one of the top 100 movies ever made. It's called Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Quit Worrying and Love the Bomb. It is a very dark black comedy by Stanley Kubrick on nuclear war. For that matter, I would in an instant I would buy a General Turgison.
Yes,
that is a very funny movie.
This is the only movie to ever make nuclear war funny.
I'd also buy a General Ripper.
General Jack D. Ripper. Okay, you're going to have to go watch the movie. You're going to have to watch it about 4 times. Keenan Wynn is Colonel Bat Guano. Yeah, I mean...
the B-52 pilot.
That was Major Kong. That's what he's talking about.
Already passed that.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Okay, I'm going to give you the 20-second rundown. The 20-second rundown. It was a movie made in England. Peter Sellers was supposed to play Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, President Murphy Muttley, Major Kong, but he hurt himself on set, and they brought in Slim Pickens. And who's the third character he played? Oh, Dr. Strangelove. He played Dr. Strangelove. Yeah, hell, Dr. Strangelove in the wheelchair. But basically, an Air Force general who runs a SAC base, a Strategic Air Command base, goes bonkers because he's impotent and sends the command code for his bombers to go attack the Soviets. Turns out the Soviets have built a secret device in the ground that if they're ever attacked by nuclear weapons, it'll set off these big bombs that'll enshroud the world in a doomsday cloud, blah, 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 blah. They try to shoot them all down, but Slim Pickens' plane is better than they thought. What can I say? It's initiative. I'm sorry, Dimitri. I'm sorry they're flying low and evading your radar. It's initiative. God, don't get me started on this or we'll be here all night. This movie is genuinely one of the greatest movies ever made. The writing is spot on. Stanley Kubrick did a great job. The special effects are okay for the time, but they're not a focal part of the movie. The Slim Pickens, when he showed up on set in England,
riding the atomic bomb.
That is him riding the bomb down. Is a scene everyone is seared in the memory of everyone that's seen it. Quick side note. Apparently, the real reason Peter Sellers didn't want to play him was he didn't think Sellers is a great actor, but he didn't think he could do a proper Southern accent. He didn't think he'd do it justice. So he apparently injured his ankle on the set. There was an investigation by OSI and the Air Force when they made that movie, because this thing was made in the 60s. The B-52 was still a top secret program, and the cockpit of the airplane, including downstairs, was completely authentic. And they didn't understand how the Brits in a movie studio got so much accurate information. Turned out one of Kubrick's friends was an Air Force officer, snuck him a manual. They Xeroxed some pictures of the inside to, make the cockpit set, which is very accurate. Kubrick injures his ankle on set, so he can't play the part. So they call in Slim Pickens at the last minute. Well, Slim Pickens was from Oklahoma, so he was a cowboy and a real honest guy cowboy. So he shows up. He's in his cowboy hat, his leather with the fringes, his turkey platter belt buckle, and all the Brits are like, "Oh, what? This mate stays in character all the time. He's awesome." They think he's some sort of method actor. They don't realize he's just being Slim Pickens. And it wasn't until the cast party was all done that it kind of dawned on him that this is really who this cat is. He's, but they actually had to go in and redub part of it because that movie came out just after Kennedy was assassinated. And the sign where he says a boy could have a pretty good time in Vegas with all this stuff when he's going, you will find in your survival kit 145 automatic, 2 boxes of ammunition, pain pills, pet pills, $50 in rubles, $50 in gold. You can tell I've seen this a few times. But they actually went in and redubbed because you notice his lips don't match. He originally said a boy could have the
social security number.
Huh?
Ask him his social security number. Be able to tell it to
I know my social security number. BR549. That's an inside joke that people in the South will get. But anyway,
nylons, a prophylactic device.
Yeah. Anyway, don't spoil it for him. But anyway, you'll notice his lips don't match when he says a boy could have a pretty good time in Vegas with all this. Originally said a boy could have a pretty good time in Dallas with all this. But then Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, so they went back and redubbed it. And I'm going to fix that bomb if it hair lips everybody in Bear Creek. Anyway, dude, I am telling you, as soon as we're done here, go find Dr. Strangelove on YouTube. And you'll be laughing so hard at some of this. God, I love when Turgeson's giving the unofficial study, and he's leaning on in front of her a bunch of notebooks that says nuclear war in megadeaths. It's little stuff like that, We did an unofficial study of an all-out nuclear war. And anyway,
30 million dead.
40 million tops, depending on the breaks. we hit the Russians with an all-out coordinated attack, And the scary part is he made a really cogent argument.
No, the best part is when he sticks his wings out. Did you ever see one of those?
It's coming in. B-52 coming in, cooking chickens in the barnyard. Hell yeah, he'll get through. I'm sorry, Scott. He's looking at us like, what a bunch of weirdos. Which would, by the way, be a fair assessment.
I'll watch the movie very soon.
Dr. Strangelove, it's still on the list of one of the top 100 movies ever made. And you forgot the rubbers. He said prophylactics. It's like Wild Bill Kelso. Oh, Wild Bill Kelso figure from 1941. I'm Wild Bill Kelso. Have you seen 1941? Add it to the list. I'm Wild Bill Kelso. Turn the submarine around and take me to Tokyo.
Is that the one with Jim Belushi?
John Belushi. It's right after Pearl Harbor. It's all about the panic in America. A Japanese sub with a German on board decides to quote unquote blow the shit out of something big.
I think I saw that in the theaters when I was a kid.
Yeah, probably the best line in that movie is when the Japanese lieutenant ensign is trying to get the big radio down in the hatch, and all we've got to learn to make these things smaller.
Max,
Huh?
Max, here's something I think probably we all missed. The crowd just said, B-52 was flying really low.
But the Shadow was a B-17. That I caught the first time I saw it. Kubrick, I thought it was some sort of glitch. I found out Kubrick actually hired one of Paul Mance's B-17s to fly across all kinds of different terrain, filming at Shadow, which they put under the B-52, so you'll see the swept wing B-52, but the Shadow's an old straight wing 4-engine B-17.
I never caught that.
Oh, I caught that the first time I saw it. I thought it was an inside joke. Turns out that no, they actually spent a lot of money on that. It was just the best he could do. Well, like the Air Force is going to lend him a B-17. And they're always playing Johnny Come, whenever you see the B-52 on the outside here,
Yeah.
But I don't know. God, don't get us, Ken. You got to be the adult in the room and get me stopped, because when it comes to movies like Godzilla, Doctor Strangelove, and The War of the Worlds, we'll just go on and on and on.
Well, Scott, so what do you currently have in the pipe that you can discuss that may come to market soon, if anything?
Nothing, just Conga, really. Conga's...
Oh, okay. Well,
Conga's
he's there.
But yeah, exactly. No, there's nothing that's actually actively being developed until we see what Conga does for us. Again, Conga's got to pay for the next iteration. Right. What comes down?
How is Conga's pre-orders? Initial shipments.
Doing pretty good, actually.
So it was up to your expectation.
I think so, because I think the people who would have purchased the Fly kit are the same kind of people who are going to be purchasing the Conga kit. And so my hope and expectation is that the Fly sales would be pretty neck and neck with Conga sales in the end. So,
well, that would be good then.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then we'll see whether it's a Colossal Beast or it, the Terror from Beyond Space, who wins out in the next project.
Either one, I think, would be a winner.
I think so. The Colossal, the it from Terror Beyond Space, the base would be the tricky part, right? The base is kind of boring.
Well, I'd have him going up the ladder in the ship.
The ladder, or bursting through the dome hatch, peeling that like a tin can. But even that, can you make that a little bit more exciting, right? I mean, it's a.
That was it, the Terror from Outer Space.
Yeah.
I gotta.
Or you could have him going through the door from the airlock into the ship. Where he tears the door off.
Okay, for my money, being an old infantryman, the greatest scene in that movie is where they take a bazooka to him. Because you got to be a 1950s man to even take a bazooka into a spaceship, to even think about that. I'm like, first off, I would happily travel with that crew. No red shirts there. But the reason it looked that way was because the mask was too big and it hung down over the guy's chin.
I heard that. Yeah.
And he was drunk most of the time.
I don't blame him if I had to wear that thing. Now, I don't know if this is this may be getting too far away from the subject matter, but there's also the possibility of doing some of these suits with the actor standing out of it. I have another big Polar Lights Godzilla, and I have one right here that's all built up, and I have another one kit that was given to me by a glue trooper, and what I'm thinking about doing is chopping him in half. The top half I'm going to set on painted tinfoil like water so I can pose my model ships with it when I build them, because what's a model ship or submarine without a Godzilla in the background? But the bottom half, my wife makes dolls, totally unrelated to all the other dolls I've mentioned so far in this broadcast. But she's going to make Haruna Nakajima, and I'm going to I was thinking about putting him in there, or just having the bottom half with the straps and everything, and the interior, and just label it tea time, you know. But you know, sort of an homage to the suit actor, and
It's funny because Michael Bergman and I had a discussion about that, because Michael's got a STL printed kit that he offers, a similar idea of the actor wearing the rubber suit, and you know, he wanted to sort of present that sort of idea, and you know, for me personally, I wanted to go completely the opposite direction. That, you know, I want to sell the fantasy of the monster being real, and it's not just a guy in a suit, right? I mean, you can look at Gorgo and you can see exactly how the person inside Gorgo's rubber suit would, where the actor's head would go, where the feet would go. But I would rather, like with Conga, when you watch the movie Conga, it's a standard gorilla suit, right? It's one of those horrible gorilla suits like Kogar. It doesn't look anything like a Silverback Mountain gorilla. We decided it's better to sell the fantasy of a monster as opposed to the man inside the rubber suit. You could argue it both ways, clearly.
Actually, I think you're right. The man inside the suit is more of a very, very niche thing for a handful of people. Not enough worth going into production over. That's more of a kit bash idea.
You go to the movie to see the monster.
Exactly.
Right. I sell the fantasy. I want to sell the fantasy in a model kit. So,
Hey,
but
guys,
just
I
going
don't
back
mean to be a mood killer here, but apparently we are a bit over time.
Who cares? We're having fun.
Okay.
I did want to make one further point to Steve's earlier question about the future model kit. So maybe Max, that was more Max's question, but with the digital printing, and you know, I you know, if I were to see, for guys like us who want model kits and monsters, but there aren't many manufacturers putting out these model kits, I would hope that there's guys out there who are getting skilled with ZBrush and STL printing, that you just kind of say to them, I'd like a figure of this particular monster, and with very little difficulty, sweat, that they can kind of just go to the computer, the ZBrush, and bang out a nice figure of that kit, or of that idea. Hit the print button on their digital printer, and you get a nice, you know, plastic, because it's plastic. These PLA and resin printers, you get a one-off.
Ken, he's our 3D printer guy.
We've had this discussion many times, and my view, having been in the industry for more than I'd like to admit, I think that's the future of the industry, is that you will buy a file online and your 3D printer will print it.
Yeah, I agree, because there's too many interesting subjects out there, and simply not enough time to make steel molds of them all.
You know, one of the classic characters that I love is Tobor the Great.
Right.
Now, nobody's ever made a kit of Tobor.
Right.
There you go. That would be
many
good.
files online of Tobor, and one of my friends, and Ken, have printed me 3D printed Tobors.
Right.
And they're really cool. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're really
And people love robots. So,
yeah. And of course, the printer technology is only improving.
Yeah,
So,
every day it gets better. It really is.
I think we've got about 20 years before that's going to be replacing kit models, but I think Steve's right. Eventually it's going to, it might become the dominant force. I mean, you look at Star Trek, Next Generation, the replicators, people look at something, up it comes, you know, and basically we've got replicator Mark 1s, and, but...
They're a little bit slower.
For now, you know, Ken, but how is it compared to the way it was 10 years ago? And how will it be 10 years in the future? But, Scott, I want to get your feeling on something. We've talked about this before. I believe that we all grew up in kind of the Overton window, the best time, where kids were still allowed to go out and be free-range kids, but we had all the modern conveniences. Well, like you talked about, the Aurora models, you know, all that stuff. I just kind of get your feel for what you think the future of the model business, you know, did we really grow up in the time? Are the times as rosy as I remember them, or am I being too nostalgic?
Well, No, absolutely. It was great. I mean, pre-internet childhood is probably the best thing you could ever have. I mean,
I never heard that phrase, but I'm going to steal it. Pre-internet childhood. That's a great way to put it.
Well, look at it this way. The numbers prove that assumption because the model kit volume that was produced per kit in the 50s and 60s and 70s was huge compared to what it is now per kit.
Oh, I mean, you know, if you want to see a perfect example of the loss of ingenuity, just just out of interest sake, I've sort of flipped through old pages of Boys Life magazine, the official publication of Boy Scouts of America, right? So it's available on Google Docs online. So if you flip through Boys Life magazine 1965, because I go through looking for kid ideas, subject matter, things like that, but I'm flipping through again, say 1966, Boys Life magazine. Flip through that magazine from beginning to end, and realize the amount of ingenuity, work ethic, outdoor adventures, like the things that kids would build with their hands and do every single day. I mean, incredible. I would never find any kid today in their second decade of life who could match anything you see in Boys Life magazine for ingenuity and hard work. I mean, it's true. It's not found.
It's true.
I had to teach my son how to change a tire, which is no fault of his. It's just they don't have shop class in schools anymore. So,
well, here's a sad example. When we moved, like my kids are in their 20s now, but when we moved to this one neighborhood, all the driveways had those portable basketball nets, the ones you wheel out.
I know exactly what you're talking about,
yeah. So you think, oh, this looks like a fun neighborhood. All these portable basketball nets everywhere. You never, ever saw them in use. They were empty all day long, all summer long. You go to the public park, there's no one out there except for perhaps a couple of moms with their toddlers. Kids don't know how to play. They don't know how to play, and they don't know how to be ingenious or creative. So,
Scott, go ahead.
Pre-internet us, we were so fortunate.
When you were a kid, did your parents ever use the following phrase? When I was a child, we had to make our own fun.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, of course.
And you're sitting there with your work at, Mom, I am making my own fun. Leave me alone.
Well, I mean, honestly, if I wasn't building an work, I was out playing tag or hide and go seek. So,
getting lost in the woods. Oh, yeah. So it's not just me. It really was a grand time. And the police didn't stop you if you were off by yourself. Today, cops find a 10-year-old where are your parents? They know you're out alone. I'm like, he's 10 years old. He can walk to school. Not in this town.
Well, the other thing I point out, too, is magazines. I mean, when I was younger, if you wanted to figure something out that was collectible or interesting, you had to go and get the magazines from the magazine stand and wait either the week or the month for it to come out. There was always a hunt for something. You had to hunt for it. Now, boom, 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 eBay, Amazon, it's in your doorstep the next day.
Our Google was the Dewey Decimal System at the library.
Yeah, well, okay, now don't get me started on doing research for papers in the library. That's pre-internet research in the library.
What about this? What about when you had to write papers for school? You didn't have a computer.
Yeah, that was awful. Terrible.
You had
no word processor.
You had what you had was the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. No, cursive handwriting on lined paper, no thank you, but that's how I did it.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, Scott, I can't thank you enough for giving us some of your time. I hope a couple of you...
thank you enough for hosting me.
Guys, get out there and buy some Mobius kits. I'm going to talk to... I'm going to talk to Ian about either opening an account with Doll and Hobby or getting up with Stevens and getting some congas and the 3-in-1 kit back there. The which one? I forget which one it is.
Dracula, Jekyll, and Hyde.
Okay. Now, you still got some, so are those still being distributed?
Those, I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest with you, those are empty boxes.
Oh.
Those are empty boxes. I have a very small percent, like I have a few kits in my own sort of war chest, for end time, so to speak. But, the 1,000-unit run of those, have been long gone for a long time.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to talk to you after we closed down about acquiring one, but all right, strictly for collector value.
Yeah.
But I do plan to get Conga in the moon suit though. So if he can't open up something with Doll and Hobby, then I'll have him get it for Stevens. But I'd like to see him open with Steve over at Doll and Hobby just to have another avenue for stuff. And sadly, we're all kind of fighting over ever diminishing pie. And but
Super PZL says, Scott, will you come back or have we scared you?
yeah, if you're always welcome back. I mean, let me know. We'll be glad to have you back anytime. Just as a member of the quorum,
Yeah, I would always be happy to join. Always.
And I have to tell you, Scott, if you don't mind a little gushing and fawning, I am genuinely impressed by the effort, moxie, commitment, the monetary investment. I mean, you really put forth the stuff to get this done. And having looked at it and chickened out myself after my wife talked some sense into me. She was like, a 148 scale line of general aviation aircraft, you'd be lucky to sell 500 of each. And she's not wrong. It's just too niche a market. And but to do what you did and go out on a limb like that, and I know clearly you didn't do it for the money.
No.
If I may touch on a slight nerve, has it been able to pay enough to at least keep itself going?
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to fund Monarch personally at this point. Monarch lives and dies on its own strength. So, I mean, hence, why there's nothing in the pipeline, because Conga's got to pay for that.
Okay.
So I look at it
which is a common way that things are done in the industry.
Yeah, and truthfully, I look at like an expensive hobby. I mean, I don't really drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigars. I don't.
Well, you're just missing out on the good stuff.
You might start soon, though.
Sounds like me.
Well, I mean, everyone's got to have a hobby or perhaps a vice, and this would be my vice. So
you've got models. Ken's got sailboats. I've got food, and Steve.
I got Sarah McLaughlin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. He's a Sarah McLaughlin stalker. So, but anyway, wow. Well, I hope you had a little bit of fun. And
I had a lot of fun.
I hope those will get a few people to buy some of your kits. And,
well, like I said, the moon suit is the best engineered kit we've got. It goes together, and it's historically accurate.
Well, that is actually at the top of my shopping list. I'm going to see if I can get some through Hurricane Hobbies. I don't mind paying retail to help the local hobby shop because, like you, I believe in brick and mortar.
Yeah,
and
I really do.
I actually feel guilty if I buy anything at Hobby Lobby or online because I'm not giving the money to the local hobby shop. If you don't support it, it won't be around.
Yeah.
I am very blessed to have a hobby shop, a real honest-to-God hobby shop 3 miles away. And I know a lot of the guys, especially a lot of the Canadian viewers, they're driving 80 miles or 50 miles to get to the nearest thing that calls itself a hobby shop. And Steve, you got a hike too.
Yeah, I got to drive 35 miles to a hobby store.
I grew up with a great hobby store in town, and it was that's where I spent my childhood.
Well, I did too, but I grew up in Manhattan where you had Polk's and America's Hobbies, and a lot of the legends of the industry. It was great. The Red Caboose, which Max visits when he goes to New York City.
Yep.
That was there when I was a kid.
If they kept us in a hotel in downtown Manhattan, I schlubbed over to Red Caboose, see Alan, and that's the kind of place you have to walk through the hallway sideways to fit through because he's got so jam full of models and a ton of trains, which is Ken's thing.
Garfield says he's only about an hour from you.
Oh, Garfield, we call him, his name's Garfield, we call him Orange Tabby for Garfield the cat, and he's one of the first glue troopers. He's one of the very first people that started watching, and he has gifted me, he is a very generous man who's gifted me a great many models, one of which I have on the table right now. It might be somebody to hook up with at some point if you want to, but he's up there in Kitchener.
Oh yeah, sure, KW, of course, yeah.
And well, guys, has anybody got anything else?
It was just great having you here, Scott. We've really
Like I
been
said, my pleasure. Thank you
a
for
very
hosting.
informative hour and a half. We're really glad to have you.
Yeah, no, I would. There's so many more horror stories I could share with you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, feel free. We love horror stories. We buy model monsters.
I'm going to give you a call later in the week. I think there's a few things that you discussed during the show might be able to help you out with.
Wonderful.
Well, guys, I will run the outro if everyone will stay on for just a minute here. And I want to thank everybody coming out tonight. I hope you had a little bit of fun listening to us. I'm extremely grateful for Scott to come out and spend some time with us. Go out and get yourself a Monarch Models. Steve, Ken, you want to say your nights?
Well, guys, I think this is probably the best informative live stream we've had in a long time. I'm glad you were all able to participate. And we want to thank Scott for coming on and sharing his expertise with us. And have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Ken?
Top that, Ken.
Yeah, top that, Ken.
Scott, thanks for coming to visit us. We really appreciate your time. It's been really informative. A lot of the people online have really enjoyed your talk, and listening to you, they really liked your stories. I hope we can bring you back again, and you can tell us some of those horror stories. I'm sure that would be entertaining.
Yeah, they like pain.
And Scott, any last thoughts before we go?
Yeah, no. Thank you for hosting me again. Steve Iverson, great friend to me. Peter and Rick, great friends to me as well. Always very helpful. So the men at Atlantis, I mean, I'm grateful for all the help I received from them. And I somehow get a feeling that you're going to get that monster scenes somehow. I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who can get you that kid. So
Giggity?
it might come from a personal war chest, but something tells me you'll
That
get
goes in the precious file not to be built.
it. Yes, indeed. But again, my pleasure, and I'd be happy to come back at any time.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yes, I know.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm a good wisher.
Guys, from all of us here at Max's Models, I want to thank you for coming out and spending some time with us. Take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.